this isn't actually surprising to most people who have known Vaush, right? I feel like almost everybody who knew Vaush, it's like, yeah, this is not shocking.
I didn't notice the problem while saving the drawings, the same way a person could fail to notice any element of any drawing if they were careless or inattentive or distracted.
Did he actually just try and say that, like, it's in dispute whether or not there's loli in there?
Now he's obfuscating here, and he's also trying to say, like, oh, lots of people are lying about what's in it, lots of people haven't seen what's in it, and it's like, well, no, I actually have seen what's in it, because I didn't want to come out and cook this guy when I hadn't seen what was in it, and... Hey, Relly, how's it going?
How are you?
Pretty good. Vaush released his response video. Oh,
wait, really?
Yes. Let's
ain't no way, bro.
I'm ready for this.
My perspective going into this is I personally don't think he is a pedophile like himself, that he is like attracted to minor like minors or anything like that, or minor features of minors, but I believe that he is I don't think that there's any context really that can justify the downloading of loli. The only context I can think of is if he could somehow prove he downloaded like a litany of pictures, like 30 pictures at once. It didn't check every single picture, like he downloaded like a collage or something.
Yeah, like realistically, in terms of if I'm just like forgiving somebody I know for doing some transgression, I could probably forgive Vaush for this sort of like with the excuse he gave. Like, I would be understanding of that person especially if I could like check the rest of the folder and be like, okay, there's not a bunch of other shit like this. But, like,
that's a big part of it. True.
In the like professional context of him leaking this on his stream, it seems it's like so much worse and so much harder to like let go. I feel like it's I don't think it's like a personal failing to be like horny and save something that probably is like borderline bad. I don't know if that's like a massive personal failing you couldn't come back from, but it's like, dude, also giving your messages or your statements to Mr. Girl, like it looks so bad for you. Like professionally, it's devastating.
Wait, his statements to Mr. Girl?
Yeah, did you not see? He told Mr. Girl, basically, him and Mr. Girl had a convo like a year and a half ago or something, and he was basically like, oh yeah, like we shouldn't pretend that there isn't a clear line between liking and being attracted to children. So I think like given all of that, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Which, by the way, I agree with that take. I feel like that's a pretty obvious take.
I think so. I agree with it. I think there's like a connection there. Some people have pushed back on me saying that there's like a strong connection. I didn't really say there's a strong one. There's definitely some connection, right? Like it's not nothing. It's not like, oh, you're attracted to kids so you like randomly download stuff, or you download loli so you like have no possible attraction to kids. It's like not nothing. I just don't know how strong it is. Like I don't know if it's like 100% you're into this stuff so you'd be into like little kids. So
100%.
I have no idea there.
But I definitely agree there's some kind of a connection.
Yeah, there's something for sure. Anyway, we can
made a long time ago.
Start checking it out.
There are two main reasons why.
Can you stream it to me in the Discord?
One,
oh yeah, no, I should be streaming it to you in the Discord, obviously.
I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just gonna pull up my OBS here. I gotta make sure the sound levels are all appropriate.
Everything we're about to talk about has been discussed over and over again on this channel in live streams and in videos.
Talking right now.
Some of it has been discussed to depth, over engagement with the topic.
Those are like they're in the same audio channel. How did that sound to this stream, guys? Can you hear Relly over it? I'll pause when Relly wants to give feedback anyway, but sounds fine. Okay, all right, perfect.
Yeah, Wolfgang did
have a disproportionate influence, but over main reasons why I haven't. For one, everything we're about to talk about has been discussed over and over again on this channel in live streams and in videos. Some of it has been discussed to death. Over engagement with the topic has caused it to have a disproportionate influence both on my community and on the way people outside of my community perceive me and my channel. The second main reason I've been hesitant to make this video is because experience has taught me that, generally speaking, if folks want to hate you or distrust you or whatever else, it's pretty difficult to convince them otherwise. Sometimes, if you're unpopular enough, even if you've got a good point to make, just the attempt to change people's minds can come across as kind of self-incriminating. You actually ground them further in the positions they already... already have. You know, it's one of those deals where the people who need to hear it won't listen, and the people who will listen don't need to hear it again. Let's get right to it then. Let's not waste time. What am I actually talking about? Well,
okay, hold on. What do you think about that? That like, do you think there's anything to that? I think there's something to like, I always, there's like a saying, there's no, like, you can't win an argument. As soon as something becomes an argument, like, people already have entrenched positions, so you can't really change their minds. I think that's like kind of true, but I also think there's so much cope here in that, like, he's not defending his position.
It's his fucking job, okay?
Like,
it's our fucking job, right? Like, when I'm going to try and be precise here, because I agree with that position, that it's very difficult to move people. That's literally our job. There is people who are entrenched inside of certain ideas, and then we present these, our opinions in a specific way to try and be as convincing as possible to the people who are willing to listen. He's trying to say that there's very few people that would be willing to listen, right, to his arguments, and that's definitely true given the topic. However, I think when there's people who are tarnishing your reputation, I think somebody like him should be, I don't think he necessarily is, he should be the perfect person to defend himself against these types of accusations, right? So, in my opinion, I think he should have defended himself. I think he could have defended himself in some effective ways. Kind of would have been a toss-up. I'm not super confident in his capabilities, especially on such a heavy topic. But if I 100% believe if anybody is capable of doing it, it should be people who are paid money to like debate and post or talk in a convincing way about specific ideas.
Sure. So I agree with all of that. I also think, just going a little bit further, he says that he's addressed it to death, and he's like clearly like he's made these addressings to these different arguments. Then I think if that's true and he doesn't have anything new here, he should have just been able to link his old videos, right? He should have gone to Twitter and been like, he should have had his editor basically cut the clips out, right? Like, cut Ethan's clip out, go to the video where you addressed it, literally cut your clip out, put that together. Should have been like spick and span. Literally like one evening, bam, I've addressed all of this before. Here's all of me addressing it again. Done, right?
Yep. But so, it, in my opinion, wasn't that simple, because it wasn't like these were a very new situation, right? Like, I think he is misrepresenting the big argument here, because in the past, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, the only information that we really knew is that he made some weird comments about loli, like we've all jerked it to loli or whatever, and we knew that he had a sexual fascination with horses. That was like we didn't know that he had downloaded loli on his computer. We didn't know anything like that, like he was actually actively downloading this kind of material. So the idea that he's just addressed all of this before, not true.
Who just innocently watched
it. Sorry, I'm shutting my trackpad off. My trackpad on this Windows laptop is not quite good. But I agree with all of that, yes. Like, obviously, the new information, new allegations change everything drastically, and that's why he needs a new video. But
I agree.
My political content and don't engage in any broader community drama. Some folks online have called me a pedophile. Now, this in and of itself isn't actually that noteworthy. With the political climate being what it is, folks are getting accused of being pedophiles on Twitter left and right. It's pretty common. But some people have called me this way more insistently and a lot louder. So why? Remember how I said self-defense can come across as kind of incriminating even if it's accurate or well-intentioned? Yeah, even though I've gone over all this before on stream or in videos, I wasn't exactly jumping at the bit to make a why I'm not a pedophile video. That's not... It's a rough subject, is what I'm saying. You know, that's one of the reasons why it's so effective as a smear, of course. It's just an incredibly difficult subject to engage with. So let's not waste any more time. We've got a lot to go through. What, then, is this video about? What do I have to say, and why do I want to say it? What are my goals in making the video? Well, the gist of it is this. When people accuse me of being a pedophile, they usually do so while presenting pieces of evidence, often clips from my live streams, that make me look bad. While I do think that a lot of the claims and pieces of so-called evidence...
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think what we should establish is what we're looking for out of this video to explain the kind of thing, right? So, like, going into the video, I'm sorry. What we're going into the video, we should be looking for something that explains why he had loli on his computer and how that shouldn't be like morally connected to him in any kind of substantial way. I think that's what like the gold standard of what most people want out of this video is. Right?
Sure. I think he also wants some response. Like he wants, or sorry, I want to see some response to some of the new arguments, like in terms of what you were talking about with like unethically sourcing materials and how that's comparable to child porn. I would want new responses to these because I don't think he's actually contended with those arguments before. And I think those are top of mind for a lot of people. So yeah, a way to explain the images. Man, a way to explain the images, and then yeah, some counter arguments to some of those clips. I also don't want to see him. This would be the first thing I want to see. The most important thing to me is I want him not to bunker or hunker down on some of the bad arguments Ethan made. If 50% of this video is just taking like the 3 or 4 bad arguments Ethan made and blowing those up as if those completely invalidate all the actual valid criticisms, I'm not gonna find this video compelling at all.
That's a good point, and that's really great you brought it up because I'm willing to bet he does. I'm very much willing to bet he does.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Used against me range from being uncharitable to outright dishonest. The fact remains that I have said some incredibly stupid fucking shit on this channel, especially really early on, like right when I started streaming, and I don't fault anyone for seeing clips from that and being suspect of me. You know, I wasn't doing myself any favors, I'll say that much. For a lot of them, such as the ones where I'm making a point that is overall good and like uncontroversial, but I do a bad job of making it, there's nothing for me to really like debunk, you know? It's not a takedown. It's more a matter of charity. You know, I have to go and look at these clips and explain, what do they mean, you know? What was I thinking? What was I saying? Is this clip like so dishonestly cut that, you know, no reasonable person would interpret it as looking bad if seeing the full context? Or was I saying really stupid shit and I'm going to have to like work to explain what my thought process was at the time? And past that point, it's up to other people to either believe my charitable explanations or believe significantly less charitable ones. You know, that's up to them. In addition to some of the legitimately really stupid shit I've said, I'll also cover some of the more bullshit accusations because I don't know, they're transparently bullshit, a lot of them. I feel like you would have to already dislike me to read anything from them. But, you know, a lot of it is that, so I need to sort of point that out too. So as far as I can see, there are 4 groups of people that I'm addressing here, more or less. The first group is my core audience, the people who have seen me address this and provide context for this and deal with this bullshit a million times. For a lot of them, all of this is a repeat. The second group of people is people who just fucking hate me. I really don't know if there's much I can do to get across to those guys. I would like to. I really do think a lot of the hate is misguided, but ultimately that's up to them, right? I'm not magic. The third group is the massive, disaffected, disengaged, entertainment-hungry drama vultures who are just here because they think it's fun to watch people squirm. I see you. Well, welcome. A lot of this really has been like thoroughly addressed before, though, so I don't plan on doing much squirming, but there will be lots of self-debasement. So to you and to the people who just hate me, if you want to see self-debasement from me, there will be that. So you can look forward to that, I guess. Yeah, and I know that even...
When he says self-debasement here, he just means like me going, my bad, I was an idiot here, I shouldn't have said this, I assume?
I assume that too.
Okay.
Making a video like this can come across as pretty damning, just innately, but I really do hope that you take it seriously and try to be charitable, if for no reason other than because it is a pretty serious topic. And last, the fourth and maybe the smallest group of people watching this video are people who are genuinely neutral, or maybe coming in with that fair mind to see what all the drama's about, or maybe they're from the normie side of my audience. You know, they don't engage with the drama and the community stuff that much. I don't know. This will probably be a weird one for them, but nonetheless, welcome. It's a pretty wide range of people as audiences go, but I'll do my best to explain things and go through all the drama in a way that's clear and straightforward, but also doesn't drag on too long. Now, without further ado, let's get to the content. We'll start with the absolute worst of it, the monstrously stupid argument that I made way back when I first started streaming that has since haunted me and irreparably tarnished my reputation. Now, this clip is the one that I see cited most often when people are accusing me of being a pedophile. That's not even a little surprising to me, though. It sounds pretty bad. In fact, and this is going to be a real hot take, I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal. Actual child pornography. Like I said, pretty bad. This clip is from right after I started streaming, so a significant portion of my career as a live streamer has been spent providing context for the clip over and over to many people and many audiences. I've addressed it so many times that it's turned into like a kind of running joke in my community, like a rake that I'm cursed to keep walking into over and over. It hits me in the head. I often see people outside of my community, people who have seen this clip but not seen me address it, mock the idea that any context that I or anyone else could provide could possibly explain away something that sounds that bad. When they see me or my fans say that this or any other clip has been taken out of context, it comes across to them as an effort to shoo away legitimate suspicion, you know, chastising people for having an opinion on something that looks bad. Like, you see a clip that looks bad of me, and then I or a fan of mine comes in and we're like, no, you know, you need to familiarize yourself with like 50 hours of stream lore before you can have an opinion on that. I have seen people weaponize calls for context in that way, so I don't fault others for being like kind of suspicious of that or not taking it very seriously. Some people are just going to tune out right there. Now, don't get me wrong, the clip is bad. It's rhetorically bad, it's logically bad, it's obviously optically bad, and the broader argument that it's pulled from are bad in all of those ways too. But as for what the clip and the argument that it's pulled from say about me, I would like to make the case, if I may, that it does implicate me, but not as a pedophile, rather as a fucking idiot, debate bro, brain-poisoned jackass, because I took a perfectly fine argument. I think that, you know, when I explain it, the argument itself will make perfect sense at least, and I ruined it with edgy, contrarian, devil's advocate nonsense. So let me explain. I just started live streaming, and I was far, far more argumentative and belligerent and arrogant then than I am now, if you can believe.
What's up? Okay, well, he's like muted or paused or whatever he's going on.
Fuck me. Sorry. Yeah, hold on. I got it. My bad. I muted to write a couple messages. Oh, write out new titles for my streams too. But sorry, this is already exactly what I want to see from Vaush. Like, this is pretty. I hate to say it because I don't like Vaush, but this is exactly what I want to hear from him. That, like, I was an idiot. It was a bad argument. There's no real defending it. Here's like what I tried to mean. But, like, obviously I didn't argue it well. That's exactly what I want to see, so already starting strong, I would say.
Yep, this is good. I agree.
Believe that. Over the background of my mediocre Dead Cells gameplay, an argument with chat on the subject of foreign labor and unethical production was getting increasingly heated. Just in case anyone watching doesn't know, many of the products that we buy from American companies on American store shelves are produced through supply chains that take advantage of what we could consider unethical business practices, you know, like bad workers' rights stuff. Often this takes the form of sweatshop labor, a practice near ubiquitous, for example, in the garment industry, where sewing work is difficult to fully automate. This isn't just a foreign problem, though. There are garment sweatshops where workers make less than $2 an hour, operating right now in Los Angeles, as an example. It's a broad issue. But American companies profit from even worse abuses. The mining of cobalt and the harvesting of chocolate and palm oil, those are three practices that are especially notorious for their use of child labor, frequently child slavery, frankly. You know, in practice, often just child slavery. American companies profit enormously from this because these, you know, abusive work conditions, it keeps the cost of harvesting materials, of acquiring raw product relatively low. And as a consequence of this, the suffering of children is built into the fabric of our economy, of exploited workers broadly, to be sure. But like I said, it's a widespread problem. I believed that in a just world, the American government would set a global standard for labor rights by barring companies from selling their products in the United States if they or other companies they bought their product from fell below a certain minimum standard for labor rights. I still think that would be great, by the way, as complicated as it would be to implement and as unlikely as it is to happen. It's a doable thing, you know? That's not like there's precedent for that kind of action. It would make the world a better place. So anyway, there I was, belligerent, angry from arguing with chat. However much of a debate bro I'm known for being today, I swear to God, I was so much worse back then. I wanted to construct an argument that would effectively and succinctly convey the severity of the problem, how intertwined human suffering is with the regular products that we buy and use every day. Shock value was essential because I needed to prove how edgy and daring I was. And speaking of shock value, an example already exists of something so inextricably tied up in human suffering that both its production and possession are illegal: child sexual abuse material. If we already know something that harmful should just be excised from society, couldn't we do the same for products that we know are made with child slavery, at the very least? The parallel felt clear to me, and I wanted to really drive home the hypocrisy of the people arguing against me, who said you were downplaying, I guess, the issue with the whole child slavery intertwined in our, you know, economy thing. So, in fact, and this is going to be a real hot take, I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal. Actual child pornography. How's that for a hot fucking take? Now, to clarify on this take, as I feel it necessary to do so, we do not, in this country, typically criminalize people who have procured media or resources which were the product of abuse. It is not illegal.
Did he add this himself? Honestly, why the fuck would you be this edgy?
I have no idea. Maybe.
It looks like it's clipped from something else.
To own necklaces that have slave diamonds or whatever, what are they called? Or blood diamonds. Yeah, all of our clothes produced by sweatshops, our computers, the silicon and lithium mined from literal fucking slaves. In our society, we have already deemed that people are not responsible for the mechanisms by which the media they consume and the content they engage with are produced. You like that argument? Ooh, you like that? You like that moral culpability? You're all worse than fucking CP owners, and I am too. Do you like that? No ethical consumption under capitalism. Shit sucks, right? But if we accept that argument for slave labor, then we definitely have to accept it for child pornography. Yeah, there you go. My dumb goal here was to spark indignant outrage, to make people who downplay the immorality of unethical supply chains to reflect on the harm they were enabling through comparison, or for them to, you know, bluster and go, no, they're different. Child slavery is fine, actually, and look bad. You know, it was meant to be like an invective, like something like, it's punchy, it gets right through to people. Obviously, it didn't work. The only person I succeeded in making look bad was me.
I could be lagging here slightly. Just give me a second.
You're not lagging to me, just to be clear.
All right, but I'm
Like
going to...
your voice, but I do see the stream lagging.
Yeah. No. I can close. I had Civ running in the background. We'll see
And that wasn't one of the goals. So yeah, no,
yeah, I think that
bad.
was probably what was doing
because I really...
Listen, I just got a new computer. I thought it was a beast, okay? But here, we're going now.
Really want to make sure that I'm being clear with my thoughts here, because I don't like being misunderstood, and being misunderstood kind of feels like my job sometimes. Just in case the bad logic of my brilliant little devil's advocate it's not coming across, let me give you an example. Imagine that I was a vegan back when I started my channel, and I was angrily arguing with my audience about the hypocrisy of America making animal abuse a felony, but also allowing millions and millions and billions of animals to spend their whole lives in torturous captivity before being slaughtered for meat. I'm flustered, and I want to make...
I have the NV encoder running in OBS. That's not what it is.
The point. So I start saying that, hey, if we're all being morally consistent here, we wouldn't even have animal abuse laws, huh? Why protect animals at all, I would say? Since we're clearly so okay with them being tortured and killed en masse, why not be consistent and just do away with all animal abuse laws too, huh? Of course, in that example, I wouldn't really be arguing for the removal of animal abuse laws. I'd be pointing out an apparent hypocrisy in animal welfare norms with an abrasive devil's advocate. The point would be to get people to sort of like angrily confront my position or reflect on theirs. Likewise, in real life, 5 years ago, I wasn't actually arguing for the legalization of child sexual abuse material. I was pointing out an apparent hypocrisy in child welfare norms and our allowance of materials produced through the harm of children in our stores, with an abrasive devil's advocate. Abrasive and bad. So bad. I have spent the past 5 years explaining it. And to be clear, it really is a bad argument.
But, a lot of guys in your position who are these kind of like philosophical types, they want to talk about the whole child porn thing and how it's just as bad as slave labor, I think was your argument.
Yeah, so that's one of the great philosophical debates of our time. Just can't keep it from...
I don't know, what is it about smart guys that they feel like, I must rationalize child porn? Like, do you feel like it just... first of all, just for starters...
I think he's gone through a lot of that. I feel like that is listen, there's a lot of other things he has to get over here, but in terms of that one clip and the specific argument, I think that's an effective defense. Not a defense. It's like admitting wrong and explaining like what you were going for morally. I think that was pretty solid.
I don't think it's solid yet. He needs to explain why it's bad. He has yet to explain succinctly, this is the reason why that whole argument actually doesn't make sense. Unless the only point he's trying to say is that the reason why the argument isn't valid is just because optically it came off as like an edgelord thing, which I would disagree with. I think on its merits, the argument isn't good.
Sure. So I think what he was saying, so I don't know if he would agree with you or not, that I think what he was saying was he hasn't said why it's bad, but he has said that the reason he engaged with that argument and something that, is not accurate was because of that. I feel like that was enough for me because I don't believe that he sees them as truly parallel, and I think he said as much, but I guess we could listen to see if he'll explain, and just the idea that, you like the link is there with a ton of other products, but you can't, there's the ability to decouple that link with every other product in a way that there isn't a way to decouple that link with child abuse sexual materials or...
Yeah, and I wish he dived into it a little bit more, but that's my perspective.
All right.
That was heavily taken out of context, correct?
Oh yeah. Like, obviously it's gotten thrown through the dishwasher a bit, as internet arguments go. The basic idea of the argument, the fundamental, which is like, it's bad to participate in the consumption of any product, which as a necessary prerequisite for its production mandates the abuse of children. Everyone would agree with that, unless people are literally pro-child abuse, I guess, but most everyone would agree with that. People just don't like the direct comparisons because in my case, it wasn't the most accurate one, due to some like nitty-gritty detailed bits, and two, it's like deliberately provocative, right? And that's the problem. That comes up the same reason people make comparisons to Hitler during arguments. It's like the most provocative thing you can get to. Like you jump right to it. Like, well, how do I make a point about why X or Y about capitalism is bad? Cracks knuckles. Okay, I've got one for you. And even if you're bulletproof on how you phrase that argument, people are going to get mad at you. But I wasn't. And if you're not, people will get more mad at you. And I have had to explain it so many times. The vegan gains debate, that's a solid F. Not only did I not make my arguments well, at one point I made my anti-child pornography argument so poorly that it got clipped out of context and people are using it as an argument that I support child pornography. My basic argument is that why is child pornography bad? Because to produce it, you have to hurt children. Because it hurts people to produce it. Yeah? Producing child porn requires harming a child. The argument I'm making is that it frustrates me that liberals recognize child pornography as bad, Great, nice, well done. But then they're really, really defensive of like global commodity production chains that involve child slave labor. Like they'll talk that off like really, really, really readily, you know? Like, oh, well, there's no other choice. Oh, well, we don't have to care about that. Oh, yeah, dude, like cobalt that's mined up is done by child slave. But, you know, like whatever, that's just how the economy goes. Oh, dude, whatever, like we make computers, they look sick, bro. Like, don't think about it.
I don't think
so that was the argument that I was making originally.
I don't think he's going to get to that part. But so this was my argument for what he meant. And I think he might, it's a possibility that he might think it's so like obvious that he doesn't have to go into it. I agree with you. It would probably look better if he went into it, like exactly the reason why. But it might seem so obvious to him that he feels he doesn't have to. We'll see.
I don't know. Me personally, I would try to find another example.
Me too. Hey, no, hey, me too, buddy. The reasons for this argument being rhetorically and optically bad are pretty obvious, I'd say. But I wanted to explain why it's also logically bad. The parallel between child sexual abuse material and commodities made with child labor is tenuous, mostly due to a huge gulf in personal moral culpability, right? I mean, hopefully that's obvious. It certainly wasn't to me back then. I still believe the presence of child labor in our supply chains is a massive issue, but, you know, I've stopped making that point in such stupid, pointlessly abrasive ways. You know, there's a sickness in the mind of the very specific kind of debate bro that I used to be, where you believe that if using the most inane, hyperbolic shock value arguments, it makes you seem smarter. I'm sorry. I can explain what I was thinking at the time, but I can't for the life of me understand what I was thinking, if that makes any sense. Yeah, all edge and no point, truly. Oh, and to be clear, I didn't make that argument just once. Remember, the whole rhetorical strategy was edgy, abrasive bullshit designed to bait arguments, and it worked. I mean, arguments were had. You're a live streamer, you know, you have a hot take or you make an abrasive argument. You know, chat brings it up in the future. You argue about it again. I'm sure there are a million clips of that argument from different streams, but it's all the same damn thing. You know, it's like taking 500 photos of me getting in a car accident and then saying it's 500 different car crashes. It's all the same stupid fucking argument. Unfortunately, 5 years back, it took me a little while to catch on to how fucking stupid and self-destructive my edgy argument was, safe within the bubble of my then tiny community, where the only eyes I had on me were the eyes of my, I don't know, 100 or so committed fans or whatever back then. I wasn't really seeing any negative consequences from employing this rhetorical strategy. I mean, it would bait arguments from chat, of course, like I got those disagreements, but that was what I was looking for. So I didn't interpret that as a sign of the argument itself being flawed. You know, it wasn't until I brought it up in debate with Vegan Gains, a far larger YouTuber, that I realized how people outside of my community bubble perceived the argument.
Pedophile.
He's spending a lot of time on this specific clip that I wish it's kind of, is this maybe the most defensible take he had that they were going after?
This was definitely one of the more defendable ones. I mean, I knew the context. I think H3 made a really big mistake by saying he wasn't, because they came to these same conclusions, like the analogy breaks down, and their thought process was, yeah, it's a dumb like argument, and the reason he made a dumb argument is because he likes children. And it's like, okay, you know, that's a step removed there. Or maybe he just made a dumb argument because he wasn't being smart. And so, yeah, I would like to see him defend the, I think the worst clip, which is him saying
the adult and the child having a sexual relationship
that is beneficial to the child.
Well,
I think that one's like debate bro as well, and like super whatever. But I think that's probably the worst optic clip that at least I saw.
Yeah, it's the worst optically, and I think it's the most defensible personally. But the issue is you have to. So I made a couple arguments about this, but he's trying to. You understand? He's trying to describe the difference between act and rule utilitarianism. In that one. Oh, you know what? We'll wait until we get to it. We can have that conversation when we get to it in the video. Sorry, actually. Yeah. We got to get through it. We're 20 minutes in. I'm enjoying this though. Thank you for being here.
Pedophiles, right, who buy child pornography, would you say they should not be held responsible for doing that?
Yes.
Really? Even though they're directly supporting child rape?
Yeah, I think it's hypocritical. If I because I bought my computer and the silicon in it was farmed in Africa by slaves, if I can do that and that's legal and no one's going to call me out my shit, then yeah, I have to be consistent in that respect.
Okay, look.
I'm surprised this didn't work on Vegan Gains because Vaush is making an indirection argument that Vegan Gains makes too, where he's like, you justify eating animals because you don't have to kill the animals, but if you saw the conditions they were in, right? Like that's a huge part of the vegan argument. So I'm surprised this didn't work on Vaush. Like the abuse isn't localized, so you're more forgiving of it. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same exact fucking thing Vegan Gains does. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think there's levels to this.
Check your DMs.
I'm streaming. Okay, I'll check my DMs.
I wouldn't equate buying a computer to buying child pornography. I mean, it's in order to pretty much have a job anymore, you need a computer. So do you really think it's reasonable to equate something like buying something that might cause some amount of cruelty exploitation in the world that you need for your job, just to be able to like not be homeless, to something that you're buying purely for very shallow personal pleasure that causes horrible, irreparable damage to somebody lifelong?
I mean, we can actually like partition it out. I don't know how much child pornography goes on the market these days. I haven't exactly checked, but I'd be willing to bet that the total amount of suffering that goes into the child slaves that mine out like the silicon in Africa, you know, in terms of me supporting that industry, I mean, that's pretty bad. And I didn't have to buy a computer this big. I could have bought something smaller. I could have bought a little Chromebook. You know, I don't wonder how many more hours slaves had to mine up that silicon to justify me being able to own this. But I'd go with it too. Clothing I wear put together by slave shop work or sweatshop workers. Sorry, glasses, like everything. And if you wanted to step beyond the slavery element, like all of the stuff that I buy goes towards corporations. I believe that wage slavery is unethical, the exploitation of workers, and everything you buy contributes to that, unless you're buying from a co-op.
Okay, well, look, there are, like, I think we can both agree that reducing suffering in the world is a good thing, correct? Even if you can't get rid of all of it at once?
It's always a good thing to reduce suffering, yes. It's insane to me that I needed that kind of external confirmation to understand how bad it looked, how bad the argument was. But I have a very low opinion of the me in a lot of these older clips. It just makes me look fucking stupid, to be honest. As, you know, as it turns out, when you're talking to other people and making arguments about ethical labor or labor laws or whatever, engaging in this kind of argument doesn't make people want to, you know, they don't get like blustered.
JSTLK, you're missing that these arguments are fine in a vacuum, but we all saw his folder. No, I think the folder is still a big deal, but these arguments in this explanation, I think like helps him in this thing in a vacuum. He still has to explain the folder, and he will still have to, like, he has to do it. He can't not say what he was doing there. He can't not say what was going on there. He can't not denounce himself for doing it, right?
Yeah, also, I want to establish that without a chain of causality of some kind, you're going to need to explain why it's even worthy of note. Like, we can probably find like tons of footage of this guy talking about physical abuse, owning a business and anything. So if he does any unethical labor practice, does that mean he's been coordinating his arguments for unethical labor practice through his entire career? It's like, no, as a political person, he probably has tons of content talking about a wide variety of things. I don't think there's a chain of causality that he was strategically talking about child porn in these instances, so that way he could like lessen the blow for like loli procurers. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And there's one more argument here. Yeah, someone in chat just made the argument about how, like, obviously most people don't know what companies are using child labor, but like we made all these arguments
and confront you in a debate about labor laws. It makes them want to call you a pedophile, obviously. So yeah, that's the explanation for the argument. Like I said before, it does reflect really poorly on me, but only in regard to my intelligence and character, not any sort of paraphilia. The clip is from very early on in my career. I think the original stream VOD was actually lost when my Twitch channel was first banned, but while looking for video context to add, I ended up finding this ancient effort from a fan of mine, presumably, to provide context to that clip. I don't know who made this. I hope they're doing well.
What's up?
Oh, okay. So I was just going to add real quick. I think he talked a lot and used a lot of words regarding optics in this first 25 minutes. I'm very curious. I hope H3 goes over it, because I'm going to make a prediction that they're going to consistently beat on him for saying it looks optically bad and not like actually grapple with the fact that he did actually come through and say logically it was bad as well. I think he used a lot of those terms, and a lot of the people who don't like him are going to say, oh, he just thinks it's optically bad. That's it. Not like an actual shitty argument.
Yeah, I hope they don't, because it's like clearly he said it's logically bad. And by the way, for you, was that enough when he said obviously there's a huge gulf in moral and personal moral culpability there? Was that enough for you to?
Yeah, and then when he went through the vegan gains thing, I think there was enough at that point. Yeah, I'd say this is good. This is good for me. This is good enough.
Yeah, I think this first part, again, I think he's still got a lot of hill to climb. Somebody asked me what percentage I put it at. I was like, I don't know, 15%. Like, I think he's
15% for what?
In terms of digging himself out of the hole that he dug.
Oh yeah, sure.
I was like, yeah, 15%. It's like that's a really good start. He's got a lot of other hurdles to get over.
None of it is, yeah, I agree, none of it is ethical. But we've already made this social decision that people are not responsible for the systems by which the stuff they own is produced. We've already made that decision. You're right, you're kind of revealing your power level. No, this is exactly what I fucking mean. I'm right, but I'm revealing my fucking pedo power level because I'm right. No, this is a moral inconsistency in society. The answer should be that all of these things are bad. Hopefully that makes what I was doing there a little more clear, even if the way I chose to do it was really, really stupid. So there you go. That right there, that's the basis of like 90% of the pedophilia accusations that people make against me. Hopefully I explained it.
Not anymore, it's not.
What?
Yeah, not anymore, it's not.
All right, bro. Okay.
You could
Most
say
objectionable thing he said so far. He was doing so well.
You could say before he just said that, or sorry, before he dropped his folder, before he leaked it, he could maybe say that was 50%, because there's the other clip, maybe 40%.
Mm-hmm.
The other clip sounds worse. The other clip sounds far worse. But because I also think the other clip does rely truly on him believing that in 1 out of a billion times that it could happen, that it would actually be positive for a child to have sex with an adult. That's like core to the other clip, which I think like there's a lot of other arguments there that are less dicey that you could use, but that anyway, that other clip is definitely optically worse in my opinion.
In spite of the fucking Herculean effort I made 5 years ago to make it completely inexplicable. I'm so tired of explaining it. I sometimes see people say I'm always talking about child pornography, but what they're referring to when they say that is me defending myself from that clip, from people bringing it to me. Like it's like this nonstop. It's Sisyphusian, truly. Like I cannot tell you how much I hate the me in that clip. The amount of trouble he's caused for me. You know, honestly, a car crash would have been less trouble. I tell you, monumentalist. Give me a broken leg. I swear to God, it's so stupid. I don't want to explain it anymore. Please let this stand as my explanation, please, God. It's embarrassing. I look so stupid. Even with the charitable explanation, I look stupid. Let's move on. So thanks to my indefensibly stupid, let's call it child labor argument, I had given people a very easy in with which to attack me. Now, again, to be clear, I really, really don't fault people for thinking the worst of me on account of those clips. I really didn't do myself any favors in that regard, and I've been dealing with the social consequences of them for the better part of 5 years now, you know, of my poor rhetoric. I just want to make it clear that I'm not lumping everyone together in like a "you're bad faith if you criticize me" category. Of course, there are still people who act in bad faith. Not all the people who wanted to attack me were interested in being honest about it. I'd made it really easy for people to make, pedophilia accusations against me. But the problem was, once I stopped making the child labor argument, I stopped making the child labor argument. You know, I stopped. So folks went fishing for other stuff to throw at me, and a lot of it was really, really dishonest. One category of disingenuous pedophilia accusation that I find particularly maddening is when they're cut from a video in which I am clearly arguing that our society has a tendency to fetishize youth and girls and that it's bad. Essentially, I'll say our society broadly has a serious problem fetishizing young girls, and people will look at that statement and they'll say, oh, he's projecting. You know, he's not talking about society, he's talking about himself, which is insane. You know, insane. Does that logic apply to all social critique? If I said that America has a problem with racism, for example, hypothetically, if you could imagine such a world, does that mean I'm projecting my own racism just innately? Here's an example of this exact thing happening live quite recently.
The average American man would be most attracted to? Which hypothetical strip club would be the most crowded if they all opened tomorrow?
I think it would be somewhere from 14. No, I think it'd be somewhere from 14 to 17. I don't think we've changed.
This motherfucker wants to fuck 14-year-olds.
Okay,
that is a child.
This is probably.
Did you not
accurate.
see this?
No, I did. I'm saying that like he's actually probably pointing. I think this is probably disingenuous from Ethan here.
Oh, I think it was horribly disingenuous, and hopefully Vaush cues up another clip from them. I think this whole section was dreadfully dishonest by H3 and them. I could go off about it for a little bit, but just long story short, when he starts talking about youth and how there is a insidious kind of thing between men and their association with like youth and beauty and the desirability of youth and women, other people inside of like producers in H3 studios make the exact same like correlative argument about like different things, and they give them like the benefit of the doubt in good faith, but they don't give it to Vaush. It was so maddening to watch it. It made me remember why I truly have despised H3H. It was horrible. I think it was whole thing disgusting bad faith towards Vaush.
No, Brandon Zero, I don't think that. I agree there. Like clearly he's saying society. I believe society would do this. That's the whole point of the question. The whole point of the question is to eliminate yourself from it, right? Like that's why Max asked it that way, because he doesn't believe anybody will answer him honestly anyway. So he just says like, what do you think the rest of society would do?
Yeah, and I think also, maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I think even in the hypothetical, he said if there was no stigma and there was no anything, where would, like, what would be the most popular, to try and get like the most real interpretation of what you would think that like the average guy would do.
Which, like, we have historical records that tell us where it was with no stigma,
and
right?
it was not 18.
And it's
we could,
roughly what
it
Vaush
was not-
said, essentially.
Yeah,
so
it was.
Crazy clip. That guy I'm talking to in that clip, Mr. Girl, is, well, if he's not a pedophile, he does an amazing impression of one. I'll say that.
Why would you do that, right? Why would you, dude?
That's so funny. That's
throw
the
that guy-
irony there is so funny.
Just throw him right under the bus. Okay.
Much. And he spent that entire goddamn debate being a creepy piece of shit to me, asking me weird fucking questions. I think when he first got on call, he wanted to talk about how he thought he could have debated Hitler out of doing the Holocaust. You know, it started funny crazy like that, but over time it just got creepier and creepier. And eventually I just kicked him from the call in disgust. He's one of the reasons that I don't have a debating all comers policy anymore. You know, you got to filter some of these people. So, all right, where's the context, right? Well, here's a clip from that debate of Mr. Girl asking me that question the first time.
Here's a thought experiment. I'm gonna open a string of strip clubs in Las Vegas. And it's gonna be called Mr. Girl's whatever you want Emporium. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in one strip club, the strippers are 25, 24, 23, 22, all the way down to infants. But each strip club, and this is a sovereign state, so there's no laws. In each club, everyone is the same age. Okay, so if you want to watch babies crawl around, or you want to watch 100-year-olds, we'll start at 100. So basically everybody, and everybody all the women on the planet have to work here. My question is, in America now, which club do you think would be the most popular if this were to open tomorrow?
In a sovereign state adjacent to America.
Yeah, and it's you know, there's no one, identities are, there's no issues of social ostracization. Nobody knows, everybody's wearing whatever disguises.
The closest argument you could make there, I think, is from European literature.
What's that, sorry?
Sorry, I fucked it up. It's not, he didn't say free of social stigma. He said, he was like, you're disguised and nobody can tell who you are.
I think he actually does explicitly say it. We'll see, but
Sure, from ye olden days. And it seems like predation against girls spiked up around like 14 to 16. So if you could, if all the degenerate sex tourists.
Yeah, looking around you at America now. I want you to base this just on your sense. You know a lot of people. Do you talk to a lot of people about this? And we all.
You know, I haven't talked to a lot of people about this specifically. I'm going to.
Well, we run in different circles, but based on your observations of American humans, which club is the most popular? Straight men are going, and they're women.
Culturally, I don't think that we've done anything to appropriately discourage that kind of predatory behavior towards girls. So my guess is that would be somewhere between 14 to 17. I think that culturally we've done
one-way mirror. The girls don't know. The girls don't know that you're. Is it even predatory to go look at them? They don't know that you're looking at them.
I would say that it's predatory.
It's a website where you can log in and look at locker rooms. Just forget the slavery aspect.
I would continue to believe that's predatory for
for sure. But much harder type of predatory behavior to discourage if no one will ever know that camera was there.
If you put a camera in an underage girl's locker room and the police found it, I assure you that they would be able to very quickly, succinctly, and with great confidence explain to you what you did wrong.
All right, then I have to go take care of something. No, I'm just kidding. My question is, which club is the most popular? My question is, where do you think we're at? And I'm asking it in kind of a exciting way because we're in public. But where do you think we're at? What is?
I genuinely don't think that much has been done to culturally disbar the average modern guy from the attitudes that we had back in antiquity towards women and attractiveness towards women.
And what number?
I think it would be somewhere from 14. No, I think it'd be somewhere.
Oh shit! Is this lagging again? Hold on. It shouldn't be lagging that badly. I actually don't know why it's lagging in the browser like this. Oh, I do kind of know. I've got some issues with my We'll see.
From 14 to 17. I don't think we've changed.
Those are big. That's a big difference.
I might just have to like pause it,
and I couldn't even begin to think by which categories I would separate them.
But you're saying 14 to 17, and you won't pick a number?
I will absolutely not pick a number within the range.
Because you don't have a guess, or because you don't want to be clipped saying it?
Because I don't even know by what category you would distinguish into that group, and because I'm referring only to my feelings on other people's predilections, not to my own. So you're not asking me for my preference. You're asking me what I expect of the average American.
No,
a group of which I have a very low impression.
Okay, but you don't want to say the number.
I don't have a number. Do you have a number? Is there a number you're looking for?
I think it's 15.
Well, I suppose we'll leave it to the historians to judge.
Maybe 16. Might be. I think it would be 14 at first, and then it would it would move up once the novelty wore off. I think it would be 15 or 16.
Is this consideration in line with your desire to empathize with pedophiles, or is it something more personal than that?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you sound like a pedophile, not a person who wants to promote empathy for socially misaligned people.
Why do I sound like a pedophile?
Because you're dedicating a considerable amount of thought to the subject of what type of underage girl people would be most interested in.
Someone wants us to answer the stripper question. I mean, I think we already did, right? Where it's just like, yeah, it's literally like we have records of what happened when there wasn't a lot of social discouragement going on, and it was 14 to 17. Like,
wait, just to be clear though, I think my actual answer for right now, maybe you call me a cuck, it's literally 19 to 22, and the reason why is because of physical development. I feel like with like the BBL craze and all of that stuff, I feel like people really are more attracted to more developed women right now, and you're gonna have more developed women later in life. Like maybe you can get away with just saying like 18 or something, but I think 19 to 22 is where you're gonna get like pretty fully developed women who have like the curves that a lot of people like look for. But if I'm 100% of the opinion that if you say like 15 to 17 or something, like that's historically accurate. And also like, yeah, I'm not going to shit on you for making a commentary about like the weird way that men are socialized. Like, no.
yeah, I think you're more or less correct here. Like, I don't know. You said personally, like me personally, it's like, yeah, in that, in that range. Like
yeah, that's what I personally believe.
Oh, like what you would say. Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
well,
that's what I personally believe.
Culturally, stuff has changed. I don't know. It's hard to say, right? If there's no safeties on anything, it's really hard for me to say that, like, how much of it is like fear of the law around that age and stuff. But yeah.
Well, I just feel like there's so much media and stuff about like really curvy women. No?
Well, that's where like I don't know, you'd say like the horny zeitgeist is going. So I agree with you. I still think like other people have those preferences. And again, I don't know how much of that is like conscious. So it could be that it's changed significantly now, given like the cultural changes. But also those cultural changes are pretty weird in a lot of the world too. But I guess you're saying if you keep it to America, it's possible that it's gone way up because of the sort of
like
fetishization
Kardashian
of curviness and stuff. Yeah. Entirely possible. I don't know. I would have to think about this a lot to give like a very solid answer. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's to like Vaush's point. Like it feels like he's spending a weird amount of time thinking about like what underage group is the most attractive to the average guy. This is just a weird thing to sit there and spend all your day on.
Basically, yeah.
What color, if you had to guess what color their underwear would be, Vaush, what would you say?
Yeah, okay. You see that? You people ask for debates, and what do we get? I am explicitly talking about widespread social failure to address, prevent, or discourage predation against young girls. Nothing about my language even remotely implies that I'm describing my own preference. I think you'd have to be really goddamn dishonest or stupid to take that as a mark against me. Or alternatively, maybe you don't think we have a broader social issue when it comes to the fetishization of young girls, and my belief that such a problem exists is just me projecting my own desires. You know, if you really think that, if you really don't think that broader social problem exists, then I think that's a mark against you, not me, personally, you know, with regards to being a suspect. Look, at this point at least ought to be taken seriously. We all have female friends who started getting catcalled when they were young. I mean, young. Teen is one of the most popular porn categories. Barely legal is a strip club advertising cliche, so common a lot of people don't even think about how fucking weird it is, you know? Clearly, a problem exists. I don't think it's a problem that exists inherently. I think it's a product of our constructed social environment, capable of being made better or worse through the influence of, you know, different ideological forces. One of the most shamelessly predatory, pedophilic ideas I've ever seen taken half seriously is the wall. You've heard of it. You know, not the Pink Floyd, the red pill idea that women become unattractive and lose all sexual value after the age of 30. You know, I know the harm of this specific idea is mostly hypothetical because the median believer in the wall is like a 14-year-old boy who doesn't talk to women anyway. But it's still an example of how political ideologies can influence the extent to which predatory attitudes against women are socially normalized. To make a change for the better, you know, you'd probably have to look into some kind of, feminism thing. You know, not to get...
I kind of wonder, this is just reaching the end of this section. I kind of wonder if he knows that this, like, it looks really bad to just yap about this for, like, you could have just basically played those two clips and been like, obviously I wasn't sexualizing. I was, like, making a point about how he sexualized young girls, and then he just yapped for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, he did.
I think that like it just looks worse when you like. There's a lot to cut out of this video. I think to make it just better. Like it doesn't make him look worse. It makes it look like he's squirming, and it's not a good way. Not a good look.
Feminist writing on this specific issue,
Potentially,
the social normalization of being creepy about girls, that goes back a really long time. So again, pointing that out, I don't think I don't think that's suspect. I think that's a good argument. Fuck me, dude. That is bad. That is really, really, really fucking bad. Holy shit. If the original movie actually comments on child sexualization, that would be like a movie about child sex trafficking, and the poster is like a pinup picture of a 14-year-old girl with a black eye or something. Holy fuck.
Did anybody, when he was saying that's bad, did anybody else think he was saying they're bad, like they're hot? I thought he was like, damn, that's bad.
I think that's a good argument.
For a second.
Fuck me, dude. That is bad. That is really, really, really fucking bad. Holy shit. If the original movie actually comments on child sexualization, that would be like a movie about child
I see it. I hear it. God damn
sex trafficking, and the poster
Not
is like
good,
a pinup a picture of a 14-year-old girl with a black eye or something. Holy fuck. I can't even begin to describe how tactless that is. What's the takeaway from this one? Like, I don't know. Don't do that, Netflix. I don't even know. This is like this is unfathomable to me. Does anyone else get the feeling that like men, at least in the West, are kind of like taught to be kind of a little pedophile-y a little bit with how much we're fetishizing young girls? Does anyone else kind of get that feeling a little bit, just a smidge possibly? Not like every guy's a pedophile, and I don't believe that, but like the way we hyper fetishize youth for girls is like really weird. In every aspect of our depiction of sexual relations between men and women, we almost always associate youth with desirability when it comes to women, but not just youth. Like
the Vaush channel poll: are all Western men pedophiles? 1, yes, 13%. 2, yes, but it's because of society, 61%. 3, a not sure. 4, no.
Oh wow.
Earlier than like 40, you know?
Because I don't know why I actually don't know why he included this poll in the video. He should have. He should have.
I'd say like people like 20 to 40 are all like in a pretty conventionally attractive range. Sometimes beyond that, depending on, you know, a variety of things. But like the girls are never like 35 or 40. They're always 18. Not to mention like a ton of porn is like just turned 18, barely legal, you know. Wait, hold up your driver's license. We'll censor the fucking name, but there it is. Turned birthday 2 days ago. Yep, like there's fresh out of high school. Barely learned how to drive. Hey, thanks for picking me up. Yeah, it's my first day at driver's school. Like it's crazy how we how much we push this shit. Same exact deal. Me saying there's a broader social problem, and people saying I must actually be talking.
Krieger, that's probably true. Actually, that like if he cut that or blurred it, and it was like in the original clip, he would have just gotten hammered harder.
About myself. I can't believe people try to use this shit against me. Seriously,
I was like serious that it makes him look worse. Like that looks really bad. That is
100%
chat, but like. Yeah, you can't edit it out.
Frustrating. Oh, and as bad faith clip jobs go, this one is especially funny because it is literally cut from the video that I made attacking cuties. The movie. I've been on any drama YouTube years ago. You've heard people attacking cuties. The video is entitled "Netflix Tries to Capture the Pedophile Demographic with Mixed Results." The video does not contain an endorsement for the movie. It's pretty critical. So again, like it's like calling a guy anti-black because he ends a video on, I don't know, the history of the Confederacy by saying racism in America persists to this day. And the people are like, well, of course, that means you're racist. It's just stupid. I mean, you can tell I find it frustrating from the way I'm talking. I think there is a very clear difference between examples that, or I guess evidence that people use against me, where I am legitimately saying really stupid shit, and then ones where people are just like desperately cutting any kind of clip, like, you know, like Frankensteining clips together and hoping that, you know, something incriminating comes out in post. There's a lot of that, unfortunately. All right, next clip. We've all jerked it to loli at some point or another. We have at some point in our lives been going fucking crazy on some hentai site, and we've been fucking stroking as hard and fast as we can, and then after we nut, we go back, look over our history chat, and we go like, oh geez, oh boy. Some of these girls looked pretty young. Now, this one definitely sounds rougher than the last two clips, but it's, you know, it's a bit. It's a joke, a bad joke. I can explain it. I don't think that'll make it any funnier. The intended comedy element of an indiscriminate whirlwind masturbator being used to draw attention to a problem, that problem being the ubiquity of lolicon in hentai sites. I don't really know how anyone could get like a serious vibe from that, like there's any kind of like, you know, grave point being made. Again, it's not a funny joke at all. I mean, I cringe looking at it. It's great evidence against me if the point that people are trying to make is that I was, or indeed still am, cringe. So a point to their favor on that one, I guess.
Another thing leftists have pushed is the idea that
Sorry, that is probably the best example of like, yeah, that clip gets completely recontextualized after the leak, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I totally give you the benefit of the doubt that that's just a joke, just joking, and then like I'd even say, like, if that were a reality, if that was a real situation that happened to you, that wouldn't even make you a terrible person. But, like, then it gets totally recontextualized once it's on your computer and saved and, like, there forever. Right? That's in my opinion.
Yep.
So.
Pedophilia is just another sexual orientation,
Citation needed.
like being gay or straight.
Oh my gosh.
Stop discrimination.
Citation needed.
It's time to be more tolerant of demons who feed on kids.
I do take issue with the moral outrage here. Child sexual abuse is widely underreported. It's a huge problem. It's incredibly damaging to the psyche of young people, and as they grow older, it can lead to many negative mental health consequences. However, stigmatizing pedophilia to the extent that we are calling them demons probably discourages pedophiles, people who feel attraction towards children, from getting the help they could need to keep themselves from abusing children. By demonizing them to this extent, you are increasing the likelihood of child sexual abuse. Do not demonize pedophiles. Demonize child sexual abuse and encourage pedophiles to get help. Now, if you've got pedophiles who have never sexually abused a child, but they're advocating for it, they're like, yeah, I've never done it, but is there anything really that wrong with lowering the age of consent to 13? Then of course, fuck them. Like, fucking shut them up. Just fucking smack them. But by and large, statistically speaking, there are 370 people watching right now. I'd be willing to bet that at least 20 or 30 of them experience habitual sexual attraction towards children. It's surprisingly common. To those of you who do to an extent that you feel as though,
Yeah.
That's just funny to me. That's just a good old gig, bro. That's a good giggle.
I don't know why.
Also, I didn't see that clip in like at least any of H3's coverage.
I think he's just basically, so I think he went from just addressing the H3 stuff to probably going like, get me the top 10 clips from Twitter that people are freaking out about, and I'm just going to address like all of them or something.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it does seem like that is, that probably is another bad one. But I don't know, he didn't say, like I did listen for it, he didn't just reference H3 and say like H3 is saying this. So I do think this is more of like a round, like going through all of his stuff. So just the H3 stuff. I'm guessing he's got an H3 section. He does not have an explicit H3 section, which I find interesting.
Please, just get some fucking help, my dude. There's nothing wrong with you as a person. We can't help the shit that we're into. We can help our actions. There's nothing feels weird, man, about this. You can't help the things that you're into. If you realize as you're like 20 years old that you have a thing for kids, what the fuck do you do? Commit fucking Sudoku? Do you just stop existing right then and there? Do you toss yourself in front of a car? No. You have to live your life anyway. And you have to recognize, if you're a responsible person, like, hey, even if I just keep this to myself, like, this might affect people someday, you know? I should probably maybe see what I can do about that. Talk to somebody. Okay? Man, can I just say how much I hate how my voice sounds in these old clips? So I think that I sound kind of stilted, and I think it's phrased a little weird because I just wasn't experienced at streaming back then. But yeah, the message seems fine. As I understand it, encouraging pedos to go to therapy is like mathematically the most effective way of reducing the likelihood of children being harmed, which is the point, I would hope. It doesn't have the punch or the charm of the classic kill yourself debate tactic. Those elements are lacking admittedly, but my understanding is that that classic debate tactic also just tends to push them into like really insular, like-minded communities where they're more likely to enable each other's worst elements. So I don't even know what in this clip implicates me, to be honest. But all right, enough with the clips that are easy for me to defend. Let's address the clip that I see second most often. It's probably my least favorite one because it is so stupid and so unnecessary, and the bad optics of it aren't even from the argument that I was trying to make. Here, enjoy the terrible clip.
Please, please, right now, uncuck your dumb shit, libcuck fucking SJW brains, and recognize this empirically correct fact that I'm about to spit. It is possible for an adult and a child to...
Now, here's my prediction. He is going to use the rape example, because the rape example still... No, he won't. He won't use an itch example. But the rape example is the better one here, okay?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's that you could pick a random woman off the street to rape, and there's a chance that she has a fetish for that, and you just, like, made her day, right? But sorry,
sure.
That's, like, the act. But that is a thing that you can say, because there's a demonstrable, like, examples of people with rape fetishes, right? So that's possible that act could be good. But as a rule, you don't do that act because obviously, as a rule, that act is going to be incredibly harmful. So that's the rape example.
I think that would be much more palatable to a larger group of people, but it's still pretty crazy. But yeah,
it's edgy, but it's like, okay, we can admit all parts of that are probably true, and you have to really. He didn't do this so well here. I think he could have done a better job of this, but you have to go through on the rule part and say, no, but the rule obviously is how I live my life, and we should all be that way, because you can't just, take a 1 in a million chance that you're going to find like a specific person. It's going to be fine.
To have a sexual relationship and for it to have positive outcomes on the child as well. That is possible.
Man, look at how cool and logical I am, calling people libcucks for having the audacity to take issue with anything that I'm saying there. My IQ must be massive, the way I'm willing to, and this is the charitable take here, saw my own legs off at the knee, optically speaking. No points for guessing. This clip's from 2019, same as the fucking child labor argument. So same era, same brain. Before I can explain what was going on here, we have to finish the point that I was making, because this is a really nasty clip.
It is possible for an adult and a child to have a sexual relationship and for it to have positive outcomes on the child as well. That is possible. However, categorically, we discourage those relationships because, as a rule, it is substantially more likely that enabling them would cause harm in society. That's the difference between act and rule utilitarianism. An act utilitarian would say, oh, this is an instance where it was good for the adult and the minor to have sex. That would make it a good action. But the rule utilitarian, which is what I am, would say, even though that individual outcome was good, the act was still bad because, in general, in a broader application, for adults and children to have sex with one another leads to horribly destructive outcomes. For that reason, it is an unethical act.
Look at that. Whoever cut this clip ended it right before I said, but really nasty work. And I clearly don't need the help making myself look terrible. So, all right. What's going on here? What point am I clearly failing to make? And why did I say any of that terrible shit? What I'm trying to explain, poorly, mind you, is the difference between act and rule utilitarianism. They're two different ways of understanding what's right and what's wrong. At least that's what I thought back then. To understand what I was thinking at the time, I'm going to have to explain this in the context of my past self's, like sophomoric Dunning-Kruger-esque understanding of utilitarianism. We have to enter the very tiny shoes of my brain back then. We step into the shoes of my brain back then. And back then, as I understood it, act utilitarians decide if an action is moral by assessing the outcomes of that action, right? So you throw a brick at a person, it hits them, it hurts them. That's a bad outcome.
Is he actually wrong on the definitions? I just used his definitions because I assumed he knew what they were.
No, I'm about 90% sure he's right.
Okay.
So we'll see how.
Okay, so don't throw bricks at people. And rule utilitarians do this while also considering the value of broader judgments or rules that might consider an action moral or immoral by default, based on a general judgment of the expected outcomes. So we have rules against throwing bricks at people, not because the outcomes are always bad. I mean, you could miss, for example, and not really do much of anything, but we still have laws against that because the expected outcome of throwing a brick at a person is bad, averaged out, and you want to prevent people from doing that thing generally rather than just like letting people hope that the individual outcome of a specific thrown brick might be good. Does that make sense? Well, again, none of this is a good understanding of utilitarianism, so I'm trying to explain how I thought about it. I know. You'll have to read up on the subject elsewhere. Don't get your normative ethics lessons from me, please God. So let me continue with the distinction. To keep with the theme of bricks, we would consider it morally wrong to toss cinder blocks off of a highway overpass. I think most people would agree that's bad. It's possible, however incredibly unlikely, that doing so might actually end in having a positive outcome. Maybe the cinder block, it goes through the windshield and it smashes the face of a kidnapper and the car crashes and the kidnappee is able to escape to safety, right? I mean, that's a morally good outcome from the action, So the question is then, is an action morally wrong if its expected outcome is overwhelmingly likely to be bad, but it somehow, just through sheer chance, ends up not being bad? Is it morally wrong to drunkenly drive through the front doors of a school if the only person you hit is, by sheer coincidence, about to do a school shooting? No, I know. You have to understand these are the high IQ moral conundrums that only the smartest debate bro YouTubers can even hope to grapple with. At any rate, in the full clip, I'm clearly siding with the rule utilitarian argument here, that all of these actions would be immoral regardless of outcome, because categorically the harm is... We're engaging with my understanding at the time. I feel so bad. I know more about the subject now than I did then, so I feel like I'm re-explaining bad logic. But look, two things set me up to fail here. Well, one thing did, the thing being me, but I set myself up to fail in two ways. My aforementioned tendency to engage in pointlessly edgy contrarian, ooh, the normies won't like this one, bullshit hypotheticals, and an extremely...
Hold on. He needs to... He might actually believe the child and adult thing, and that's really bad. I hope he's smart enough to know that he has to lie and say that that's just wrong.
Yeah.
You have to be 100%. Intelligent enough to know, if he's not going to lie and say, obviously there's no... Even if you believe that it's possible, you just need to lie here, and... Please. Sorry, I don't really care if he lies, but also I would lose $100 if he doesn't lie, so please.
Extremely broad definition.
Yeah, I bet that he was going to get a big boost out of streaming this year. Wait, he literally did? Don't think he
can have good outcomes. Yeah, I've already addressed this debate bro brain poison before, so hopefully it's recognizable here, those tendencies, in the same way that it was with the child labor argument. I'm shooting myself in the foot in the exact same way with the same personality gun. The reason I hate this clip, myself in this clip, most of all, is because this argument I was having with chat wasn't even about child sexual abuse. It wasn't relevant. It was completely irrelevant to the point that I was making. It's just shock value nonsense. All I'm really doing is conveying an extremely intro to normative ethics understanding of consequentialism. If you were an intro to normative ethics class, you'd probably get yelled at by the professor for attempting anything even like this argument. But leaving that aside, and because it's completely irrelevant, I can't even explain my thought process very well. It just looks terrible, even though in the full clip I'm explicitly stating that child-adult sexual relationships are categorically wrong. It's a completely unforced error. I did this to myself. Also, with regards to can have good outcomes, this is like a fridge temp IQ element of arguing normative ethics. If you're willing to argue like a fucking idiot, as I clearly am, literally anything can have a good outcome in some specific scenario. Murdering an innocent person. Well, what if someone put a gun to your head and said they murdered 2 innocent people if you didn't murder 1? Now murdering that person actually has a good outcome because with 2 possible paths, one in which 1 person dies, one in which 2 people die, you made the path where only 1 person dies, so you basically save the life of a person. Woo, there you go. Nothing's inherently wrong, context. The asteroid hitting the planet would be bad. Well, what if it prevents it from hitting a bigger planet with more people? Child-adult sexual relations. Well, what if aliens threaten to blow up the whole planet, etc., etc. I know. It actually is that stupid. It wasn't even the point I was trying to make. It's just that, nothing is inherently wrong. It depends on the outcomes style of faux intellectualism was a pretty big feature of how I constructed arguments and made points back then. And, here's it combining with that tendency to reach for the edgiest possible subjects and comparisons. And it really fucks me over. I know there are probably like hundreds of examples of me doing this, but with like murder or domestic abuse or any other just like edgy topic to like, oh, you normies in my chat, you think that anything is inherently wrong? Well, let me construct a hypothetical for you that you won't be able to grapple with. You see, because I'm smart, I know that actually, what if this thing happened? I really don't blame people for thinking less of me for that clip. It's just really bad. If nothing else, my hope, this is the goal that I'm trying to convey. Don't judge me for any kind of paraphilic interpolation of this. Judge me for being a fucking idiot. That's what I want you to do. I'll expand it. Judge my audience back then for watching me. I shouldn't have gotten any viewers back then. I was so stupid. Unfortunately for me. I
really think he needed to go and just say obviously, just in plain words, because I think he did basically say it here that if the adult-child relationship resulted in the human race being saved from aliens, I think he did just try to say how he could possibly come up with a positive example. He just needed to say in reality there is no example I could think of where but I think he doesn't quite want to give it up.
For me, my presence online dates back way farther than the creation.
Again, and I don't think that's because he's a pedophile. I think that's because he just doesn't want to admit he was wrong. I think that's probably the stronger.
Which means people interested in finding examples of me saying stupid shit have a pretty wide range of material to choose from. Before I had a channel or was even known as Vaush, I was a frequent and notorious shitposter in the community of a streamer called Destiny. I know, that's why I am the way I am.
The poppy stuff.
I had been in his community for a long time, really long, and I really enjoyed the edgy, irreverent, debate lord culture of his Discord server. So let's look at some of the stupid, edgy, irreverent shit I said 6 years ago there that people have since screenshotted out of context in the pursuit of calling me a pedophile. So this is a perfect example of context being maliciously stripped from a screenshot in order to make me look bad, even though I'm right and it's not even controversial. I'm uncontroversially right, I hope. The conversation was about media and LGBT representation. Here's the gist of it. So coming-of-age stories are really common. Like a young person, they go on an adventure, they meet people they like, maybe they fall in love, they slay a dragon, whatever. Really, really, really common type of story. One of the main types of stories, even. And one of the biggest culture war talking points back in 2017, and I guess still now today, is that kind of story is weird and pedophilic, and I guess the modern term would be groomery. I don't know. If the protagonist isn't straight, right? So their argument was, you can have a story where a young man goes on a journey and falls in love with a girl and everything's fine. But if a young man goes on a journey and falls in love with a guy, then it's weird and it's gross and it's different, and that's sexualizing them because young people can be straight, but they can't be gay, because that's weird. That means they've been abused or whatever. That's the argument that I was pressing against, and hopefully everyone watching understands it's a ridiculous and homophobic and, irrational argument. It's a stupid double standard, but that's what I was pushing back against. The exploring sexuality there in that context means it being incorporated as a plot element, like in every story, right? The Last Airbender, Aang likes Katara. Spoilers. That's sexuality. That's heterosexuality, I believe, is the term for it. In Teen Titans, Robin, Starfire, not Raven, right? Starfire, whatever. Normal, uncontroversial. Homophobes will say oh, well, actually, it's bad if it's if young people can be gay.
I'm letting this play, but
they can be.
I super don't care about this.
I have a feeling the person who clipped this to use it against me wouldn't even disagree with the argument I'm making, because a lot of these really bad faith clip jobs come from people who are ostensibly left leaning, which makes me wonder if they don't understand they're doing the same thing that the conservatives they would otherwise disagree with would do. I don't know. It's really, really, really frustrating. Nobody disagrees with me on the argument that I'm making here. I hope if I had only known then what my future would hold, then maybe I would have optically workshopped it a little more. On to the next one. Yeah, okay, so this one actually is bad, and I've apologized for it a few times. Basically, here I'm doing that thing that guys do
it
where,
is bad.
a hot female teacher will be arrested for raping a student, and the guys in the Facebook comment section will be like, where was she when I was that age? Could have used me some of that. And basically, like, the thing they do where they downplay and trivialize the sexual abuses of the teacher because they personally think it would have been cool if they could have slept with their hot teachers back when they were 14. And yeah, when I was 14, I also wanted to fuck my hot teachers, obviously. But 14-year-olds are idiots. Their interests, desires, and preferences shouldn't really be accounted as a solid moral argument to anything. So this screenshot isn't really missing any context. It actually is shitty, but I've since come around on this, and I've recognized how bad it is to downplay or idealize that kind of thing. So, I've been consistent about that for years now on my channel. Not much else I can do. All right, next one. All right, so this one looks bad. I think this is probably like one of the other things that gets used against me the most often. It is mostly just stupid in the...
I'm going to read it really quickly in case people are listening. The way I see it, oh, Jesus, I'm going to have to read this. Oh, I did not think before I said this. Vaush says,
I'll read it.
Vaush says, the way I see it, the age of consent exists out of respect for the numerous power imbalances older people have over younger people. As those imbalances, or at least some of them, are redressed through the advent of socialism, the age of consent should therefore be lowered, says Vaush. Says Vaush. Vaush said this.
Read by JSTLK.
Not even a socialist, so I would never think about this stuff. Anyway. Yeah.
Same way that the previous, like, terminally online debate-brained tendencies we've seen have been stupid. My argument was that under socialism, an economic system that I don't believe exists or has ever existed, you could defensibly adopt an age of consent set to the same level as it is currently set to in England or France. Another pointless intellectual exercise conducted, I assume, because I and a lot of other people in the Discord server believed arguing controversial topics through inane hypotheticals made us cool and smart. Wow, good thing that didn't carry forward into my streaming career. I think my logic was, no, I know what my logic was. It was that the idea that economic disparities are a primary element of the power imbalance between adults and minors, and that removing that imbalance through total economic equality would rectify a part of the power imbalance. It's a stupid argument. I definitely don't agree with it anymore. I probably didn't agree with it, like, very shortly after I made it because I was arguing about it. It's pretty easy to poke holes in that one, I gotta say. Economic disparities are present in couples of literally every age, right? The power imbalance between adults and minors is more developmental and social. So the argument was stupid and meaningless, yes, but you have to understand that to the mind of the terminally online debate bro, the hotter and less necessary the take, the cooler you are for making it. Great stuff. I've done myself nothing but good service in the pursuit of all these excellent arguments that needed to be had. I think that's it for the Discord screenshots that I can meaningfully add context to. Like ones that I think are substantive enough to warrant any kind of explanation. The others are fake, faked, like photoshopped or whatever, or so insubstantial that addressing them feels pointless. I want to give you an example of what that so often looks like, though. So here's one so stripped of context that I don't even remember what the conversation was about. Yeah, I see so many attacks against me substantiated by evidence like this stuff so insubstantial you would have to already dislike me to buy into it. Leaving aside the fact that if you're screenshotting a message so select that you remove in Jesus sarcasm,
he's just like
referred to
nobody. None of us actually think like he
all those big documents
like defending pedos in a disc.
Look at this one. I don't want to harp endlessly about that. Here's a screenshot. Here's the kind of shit I see. Like what does this mean? Why do I see this included as what did I mean here? I don't know.
Do you feel he's pushing all of this off in the term debate, bro? Yeah, he obviously is. But I mean, he's saying he was edgy. He's saying he doesn't agree with these things. I think what Relly said originally was Relly would have liked to hear him like argue about why those points are wrong. And I think he's done very little of that outside the first one. So, like, just basically saying why he's wrong in those old arguments. He's just saying, oh, I was edgy. And he'll even say, I'm wrong, but he won't say why he's wrong. Anyway.
How is this supposed to implicate me? Why is this an extremely necessary debate on the subject of sex bots that look like children? So I sigh deeply, bring my fingertips to the keyboard, and that a lot of stuff gets thrown my way. So after all that, now we finally arrive at this most recent drama, the incident that lit a fire under Drama YouTube, and is, to my mind, the only thing I've done in the past 4 years that actually looks bad. It's pretty fucking embarrassing, to say the least. So there I was, streaming a few weeks ago, browsing a men's fashion site. I wanted to look at an image more closely, so I right-clicked to open the image in a new window, but then accidentally instead clicked the Save As tab in the right-click drop-down menu. Now, because I am, as has been extensively demonstrated in this video, a fucking idiot, my preferred strategy for keeping my desktop clean is to keep a single big folder called To Be Sorted, where every image, document, music file, whatever I happen to download gets sent. This is an insane thing to have as a live streamer, but, there you go. It's me. So
Wait, Wasn't that like 4 porn folders and like 2 other folders?
Yeah.
So like every single thing he downloads, and it's
Hit
Yeah,
save
it's a
as,
little-
and a half second later,
it's
a preview window
weird.
of the folder and its contents popped up on stream. Now, of course, that folder had porn in it, so I immediately ended the stream and deleted the VOD. Even if it weren't just embarrassing to make a mistake like that as one of the largest political live streamers on the platform, it's TOS. You got to delete the VOD. So I stream with no delay, and folks are always screen capturing the feed, so I knew the contents of my to be sorted folder and the preview window were irrevocably public knowledge. But to be honest, that didn't really bother me too much. It was embarrassing, sure, but mostly because it made me look like a careless idiot, not because I was ashamed of the, like, furry demon monster GF big dick porn stuff I knew I had in there. You know, I rambled about liking all that stuff on stream before, not a secret, and I thought, you know, maybe, in a way, this fuck-up would come across kind of charming. You know, like, that's my streamer, that fucking idiot right there. My community was already making a big joke of it by the time I went live again. Of course, I knew as soon as the folder opened on stream that it would be pretty easy for people to lie about what it contained.
How big is Vaush? He gets like 5 to 10K viewers most of the time.
Yeah, he's a very big streamer.
Yeah, he is probably the. I mean, out of
think
the
he's the
people
third
who
largest.
live stream every day, I'd say 3rd largest. Pac-Man
Oh,
gets
yeah,
more
yeah,
viewers
actually.
during like big political events, but again, he doesn't actually stream that much. Or sorry, he doesn't. I think his regular streams might not get quite that much. Anyway,
drama or cause me trouble or for any other reason. So when later on in that stream, 1 or 2 people came to chat and they said, hey, there was loli in there. You know, I figured they were just causing trouble and I banned them. Of course, we know where this is going. By the next day, I had learned from what felt like the entire goddamn internet that 2 of the images in my folder preview window were actually from a well-known lolicon artist, and therefore definitely it intended to be lolly shit, which has to be the worst possible way to find out about that sort of thing. Now, obviously, the accusation here isn't just that I had those images saved. That part's true, not really an accusation, but also that I must have known that they were lolicon and saved them because they were lolicon. Now, the obvious and predictable but nonetheless true response from
does it matter if he didn't know? It's not going to matter to most people. Like, depending on how he says it, maybe he could convince me, but I'm pretty forgiving of, like, stuff like this, especially when he's been, like, an open sexual degenerate on the internet for his entire life. Like, this isn't actually surprising to most people who have known Vaush, right? I feel like almost everybody who knew Vaush, it's like, yeah, this is not shocking. So, I don't know how...
Also, I want to...
Sorry. There you go.
I want to make a point that he said that, you know, what was it? The 2 things. It was like he downloaded it, and then was like number 1, and then number 2 was he downloaded it because it was lolly explicitly. That's been the biggest contention for me when it comes to some of the images, because for my condemnation of him, it is extremely, or well, more specifically for my labeling of him as a pedophile, it's extremely important that I have to not necessarily fully prove, but very reasonably be able to deduce that he downloaded it explicitly because it was depicting an underage individual. And that I feel like is kind of hard to prove from some of the things, except for maybe one of the images, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly hard to prove. I think there's just a whole bunch of, there's just like a whole bunch of other problems with the pictures and just like his general conduct as a streamer and a professional. But in terms of him being a pedophile, I will like forgive people for stuff like this because I'm willing to believe he could have fucked up. But like that's extreme charity that I wouldn't expect of anybody else personally.
Well, just to be clear, you're not forgiving him. You're giving him charity. Because when you say forgive him, it sounds like you're acknowledging that he's like a pedophile, and you're like,
No. That's definitely not what I mean. Sorry, it's. I mean, I'm forgiving as in like, I will just give people good charity, and if they say they messed up, like I would just accept that and probably move forward. But like nobody else is going to give him that. Like this won't save him.
From me is that no, I didn't know that. Yeah. And that must not have been
Sorry,
the...
do you have anything else you wanted to add, really?
No, go for it.
Good.
Impression I got from those 2 drawings, because if I had gotten that impression, then I wouldn't have saved them. You know, I mean, drawings are abstractions, and art styles and body proportions vary massively, even for characters that are unambiguously adults. That doesn't mean lolly shit isn't a thing or a problem. I've bitched about it being a problem like a lot on stream. It just means that carelessly or inattentively failing to notice it isn't exactly impossible. Yeah, I know what some people are going to say. No, you must have known. There's no way you didn't know. And like what am I going to do? Make up a fucking evidentiary argument here? Like I'm not putting up the images so we can argue about the pixels or the proportions or whatever. I know fully well that like 99.9% of people who have heard about this drama haven't seen the images, nor do I think those people should go looking for them, obviously. So it's pretty much entirely a take me at my word or don't kind of situation where people are free to lie about the drawings, or as I've already seen on Twitter, just post other really bad looking shit and say that's what I had in my folder. There's not much I can do about it, right? It's all totally unfalsifiable, and people are going to make whatever assumptions and inferences they want to make. All I can really say is that I didn't notice the problem while saving the drawings, the same way a person could fail to notice any element of any drawing if they were careless or inattentive or distracted. Hell, chat also pretty much immediately clocked 2 other drawings in the folder preview window as being AI art, something else I didn't notice, and they gave me plenty of shit for that too, because I'm not a big fan of AI art.
Wait.
I think I've done a good job.
Did he actually just try and say that, like, it's in dispute whether or not there's loli in there? Did he just try that, or am I stupid?
I don't think so, because he came out and said 2 of them were drawn by a loli artist and therefore are very likely like actually loli. I think what's in dispute is I can't quite catch it, but he did come out and say that first. So him saying that first makes me think he didn't just do that.
I know he said that. I think what he was trying to say is, based on what I was hearing, is that he's disputing the idea that there were certain things in there that were obviously loli, and it was like
there.
Yeah, I think that's what he was like trying to discredit.
Sure, that he's saying like they weren't obviously loli such that like I could just look at them and know immediately. Like he looked at them, he like didn't quite give them like a hard scan, and he was like, oh, it looks good, I'll save it. That he's saying that they might not be like obvious at your first immediate glance that they're loli.
Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to dismiss. And again, I wanted to look at it that way because I think it's a potentially honest way to look at it if you're like gooning or something and you're just going at it and you're just downloading images. But like the one I talked to you about, the threesome one is so unambiguously loli. I don't care if you're knee deep in a goon sesh, like neck deep in a goon sesh, you would know that that is 100% like an underage individual. So like at least my sniffer, it doesn't, one of them wholeheartedly does not pass at all as of age.
Yeah, and it's like it's a very confusing thing a little bit. Doomer Media is in chat. He says hi, Relly.
Oh, much love, Doomer Media.
So one of the arguments, so one of the worst images I saw, I think I might have linked you the archive, the old like archive for this. I don't know if you probably didn't look at it. Just say you didn't. But one of the worst images I saw, actually, maybe it's fine, was apparently of a character that's like 19 or 21, but like looks like a child, right? And so it's weird when you get into anime stuff. You talking
about the black hair one?
Yeah, it's weird when you get into anime stuff because like, yeah, that's just like a very common trope in Japan.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was, and for that one, it passed my test because of that circumstance. Like, I agree that it doesn't pass. Like, if I looked at that, I'd be like, "Ooh, that looks like a kid." But that's like, unfortunately, that's anime. It's like half of the characters that are like 19 and 20 look like kids. All right, I definitely wouldn't be whacking it to it, and shit like that. But what I'm looking for is unambiguous. This is a child, right? And like I said, at least one of those in his folder was unambiguously, this is a child, bro. And that's like, that's going to take some serious.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Where people keep saying the one with the horse, if you guys are talking about the one I'm referencing was not the horse. It was the threesome with the dude. Yeah, and that one, it's just like the person was like obviously like 12 to 14, very obviously.
And I would say just specifically this part is frustrating me because now he's obfuscating here, and he's also trying to say like, oh, lots of people are lying about what's in it, lots of people haven't seen what's in it, and it's like, well, no, I actually have seen what's in it because I didn't want to come out and cook this guy when I hadn't seen what was in it, and oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Doomer Media. Doomer, you could join the Discord if you want and want to come in and ask Relly some questions or me some questions. But so I think the way he's obfuscating right now and just saying like, oh, people haven't really seen them, and like if you'd seen them, you'd sort of see that it wasn't obviously loli. I hate that. That to me is so bad here. So
I think it's really, really bad, especially when there's people whose opinion I treat pretty highly, right? Who are saying that, even disagreeing with me and saying that the one photo that I'm talking about isn't the only one. That's obviously a kid. There's other ones. I think me and you had some disagreements about which one was like pretty unambiguously a kid. But there is not, of the people I respect, there is not a question that there is at least one thing inside of that folder.
100%.
All of us agree there's at least one thing in that folder that looks unambiguously like a minor, animated, like hentai minor, loli. And so, yeah, I think this is very dishonest. So I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of how he's covering this so far. See if
Job
it improves.
of demonstrating a tendency towards carelessness, if nothing else. So leaving that stupid, least charitable argument aside, someone might then ask, okay, I get it. It's possible to make a mistake like that. Why then would you save the images? And what about them did you like? And look, there's really no way of saying this without sounding crass or flippant or whatever, but you know, it's already pretty revealing video. There's actually a very clear and simple explanation for why, you know, for not just those two drawings, but in fact all the drawings in that folder.
Yeah.
And
I want to get, it's big dick, small chick. That was the thing that I said through the entire thing. All right, that was why I was. Okay, hold up, you got a dono.
Yeah. So what's worse, horses or horse girls?
Ooh, horse girls for sure.
White women,
but
again,
yes, white women. As always, my arch nemesis. So, the thing that I came into there with to be able to look for is, again, where I felt like there was ambiguously aged people. Like, was this an outlier? Was he like, did he have a folder full of horse porn and then he had like one where it was like people fucking and it was this dude fucking like a 8-year-old chick, you know, an outlier or something. But there was a pretty clear pattern through all of it. And I want to see if he says it, which is just really, really, really big dicks and like smaller chicks, like just huge dicks. And that was consistent with every single image inside of the folder. So I was a little bit more, I was able to give him, in my mind, a little bit more charity because all of it had a consistent theme.
It's all about his obsession with huge dicks. Yeah.
Huge dicks. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Doomer Media is here. I guess he wants to come in and he thinks there's like potentially something that if we caught earlier, it's like a kill shot on Vaush, and I'm not sure if we caught it or not. So.
Oh,
kind of interested to see. Hey, Doomer, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Howdy. Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, nice to see you, really. How you been?
I've been well. It must have been like 3 years, something like that.
2.5.
2.5, yeah. Jesus.
A solid minute.
So what's up? What's this kill shot I'm hearing about?
All right, so I specifically wanted to bring it up here because it involves you, really.
Ooh.
So, yeah, exactly. So, did you guys realize that early on, Vaush is trying to argue, okay, I wasn't actually supporting child porn, right? But he absolutely is. Okay, do you remember the conversation you had with him where he basically tried to argue that hypocrisy is not a problem? And that, like, Hassan can do whatever the fuck he wants, right? Remember that?
I do.
Okay, so the basic structure of his argument is like, well, child porn is bad, but so is like buying a computer because it has cobalt, right? And we should just acknowledge that both of these things are bad. But that's not what he does. He consistently justifies unethical consumption decisions all the time. Like, he doubles down on this over and over and over again. Like, in the context of the conversation and currently, he always defends unethical consumption. Always. He always argues against vegans. He always argues that he can do whatever the fuck he wants with his money. He always argues that socialists don't have a responsibility to do a goddamn thing. So if he's trying to say, oh, well, the unethical consumption is bad and also CP is bad, if he's trying to equate those things, then he is justifying CP because he justifies everything else. Like, he's equating them as being the same thing. If he's like, you see what I'm getting at?
I see what you're getting at. I think so. At the beginning, he disavowed that comparison that he was bringing up, right? And he said that it was a shitty analogy or a shitty argument for some of the reasons why I think a lot of people consider it to be a shitty argument. And on the hypocrisy front, I know that he would say that there are certain things that are hypocritical and certain things that are not, that would be justified to kind of act on and go against. And also, even if I were to grant in good faith all of those things, I think the worst we come out with is that he's stupid.
I mean, okay, he is stupid. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
that is the ultimate explanation for all of this. But like within the logic of his argument, he is defending child porn.
I do believe that he does disambiguate. He does like make that unambiguous when he says in one of these debate clips that he does think that obviously the degree to which they're wrong is far different. Right? Like he actually says the child porn is like obviously far worse than the computer in one of his debates.
Yeah, he did.
And
I think
says
in
this in this video
Gaines
too.
one, right?
Possibly. It's one of the side view.
Then why would he make the argument for a year?
Because he's well, I mean, he says, yeah, I was just stupid. I was trying to farm debates out of people. Like
I genuinely think, and I was actually making this argument for him when I was going over the original footage. He is a debate bro. That's what he was, and that is 100% debate bro culture, is making child rape, just rape in general, child abuse, analogies, arguments, comparisons. That was the meta, always, to do that. And even back then, he wasn't a very smart guy, so he tried to make a comparison and then just didn't do it in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, most of this can be explained with Hanlon's razor, right? That he's just a fucking idiot.
Yep.
But yeah, oh god, why did he? Did you guys talk about whether or not he should have done this? This seems like such a bad idea to me, to make this fucking video, dude. Yeah.
I think making a video in general is fine. My personal opinion, maybe not him specifically. Actually, I don't know how it would go, but I think he should have talked to H3H3 right away, especially after the first stream, because the first stream cooked him, but it wasn't like super aggro, super whatever. The second stream got very aggro, that H3 and shit did on him. After the first stream, he could have called in, probably worked his rhetorical magic and at least come out with like some people thinking he wasn't a monster. And then that would be fine. I think this video does some things, but I think most people are not going to watch a 2-hour fucking video.
Well, the thing was, he kind of summarized it at the beginning. He's like, there's these different groups of people, and the people who already like me, like they don't think it's even a problem.
Yeah, they don't.
And the people who hate him aren't going to change their mind. So why are you bringing more attention to it? I just don't get it.
That's why I think.
No. Sorry, I just want to jump in here. I think this is specifically because people who do like him, like President Sunday, Keffels, and I think Tipster now, potentially, definitely Keffels and President Sunday, people who very much like him and have tried to defend him through a lot of things, have started to turn on him because he wasn't responding. So I think this is to shore up his own base. Yeah, like Keffels basically started going off. I have screenshots here that I could actually go to. This isn't.
Don't forget bookmark these, friendo.
Yeah.
Bookmark
yeah. But where are they? Oh, here we go. Where she's, because of Vaush, I just burned the last bridge I had into the mainstream creator. Yeah. Oh, hold on. We'll go up here. So I'll just, if you want to jump in, Doomer, I'll cover these screenshots. I've changed my position on everything, honestly. Fuck Vaush. He deserves far more criticism for all of this. I don't think he's a pedophile, but he is so goddamn reckless. I'm not sleeping. I've had panic attacks over this. Defending him has resulted in all the 2022 Kiwi Farms misinfo resurfacing. Not all misinfo, by the way. But basically, like, Keffels now is starting to turn on him, too. I think he... And he'd been having private conversations with these people. I think he had to make this response to shore up like his own audience and like his little circle of creators that are around him.
That could be right. That's probably his justification in his own mind, at least.
Yeah, that's probably part of it for sure.
I just feel like it seems like feeding into the drama at all is just like such a horrible idea.
I genuinely. I think if he got on that call with H3 after that first time, soon, I think he could have. I think he could have kept this rather friendly in civil between them, and having H3 be somewhat civil over it, over those series of other streams, I think would have made it, because I think H3 was unambiguously like the flag bearer in this against Vaush, wasn't he? And so,
You mean previously? I don't know their previous relationship.
No, not previously. I mean, just in this specific instance. Previously, I think they were perfectly fine. I don't think there was any issues between them. But in this specific controversy, I think H3 was the big flag bearer of it.
So the part of the problem with Vaush going on H3, because I don't want to tell you you're wrong. You probably know more about optics than I do. I have a history of saying really dumb shit in live debates. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on this. But like, I'm just imagining Vaush going on H3 and giving the explanation he gave. It's like, look, okay, I get it now. It's definitely a child, but I didn't think it was a child. I thought it was a goblin. Now he's in front of 50,000 people defending the idea that he wants to watch a horse, have relations with a goblin. And this is like a thing, like, there's no, what can he say? What is he supposed to say?
I think for the files in the folder, if you genuinely want to ask me about like lying or something like that, or like what would actually, I think probably his best move would have been to say, I downloaded like a collage of pictures and I didn't even look at like all of them. I think that's probably going to be his best defense. Maybe there's a better defense. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about it because, I'm not going to be the lawyer for somebody downloading loli, but I think the main thing he could have kept things civil with is just avoiding the weird hostilities he had in the DMs, number one. And number two was trying to get explanations for those clips, because I think most of the clips of Vaush are defendable. And I think he could have given proper context, especially if he's as willing as he is in this video to just go, yep, I'm fucking stupid. I'm really dumb. This is what I was thinking. I was dumb. And just so you remember, I was dumb and it wasn't a good point. And don't forget I was dumb. Like, I think he could have made some headway with them. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. He's definitely not a Vaush at debates. So,
well, Ethan was definitely way less pissed off in the first stream. Like, I definitely think you're right about the whole faith,
I think the first stream was pretty good faith, and gave him an opportunity to come on, and then Vaush kind of sewered Ethan, and Ethan was like, "Hey, you can see what a hit piece actually looks like, motherfucker." And
I just can't imagine. Yeah, like he got invited on the show, rejected that, then invited him on his show, and then like uninvited him, and then called him a snake. Like, dude, what do you think's gonna happen, man? Like, oh god. What a
guys, 72 likes on a 900 viewer stream. What's going on?
That was tragic,
boys. Please.
Oh man, not looking good for our boy.
I mean, not our boy, but yeah.
Yeah, he's. Man, I think just going back to like why you would do this, I do think, like I said, it's to shore things up. I think it's also like he kind of wants to put this to bed. He might. There was some opportunity here. I think he's fucked up now. For me, he's fucked up just sort of lying about the folder here. But I think with the way he started the first section, his response to the first video, I was like, that's a kill shot for that section. Like, you've changed my mind completely on that section. If you keep showing like humility and just admitting where you were wrong, I think if you'd gone into the loli section and just sort of like Relly said, been like, I'm a complete sexual degenerate, I love huge dicks. That's the only connecting theme here is I just love huge cocks, and I'm a sexual degenerate. That is the only theme. I'm sorry that was in there. I'll be more careful going forward, but I didn't notice because I couldn't take my eyes off of that huge veiny throbbing cock. Yeah. I think he should have said that basically, and
because I was also watching the video, but I wasn't watching your stream until I started typing in chat. I'm like probably 30 minutes behind you guys. So what exactly did he say about the loli stuff? Like, what was the more recent stuff you guys just watched?
So
he just started this section.
Yeah, he said that there were two pictures that were from a loli artist, so they were probably loli, or that they were loli. And then he went on to say basically that like he sort of had downloaded them without paying a lot of close attention, and that there was some dispute about whether they were like clearly loli from how they looked. And then he went further on to muddy the waters and say, oh, also, a lot of people are sharing fake pictures. Most people haven't seen the pictures, so they're commenting without even knowing what they're talking about. And it's like, no, Vaush, I've seen the pictures, okay? I know what I'm talking about. Those pictures are pretty fucked, dude. Like, in terms of...
The thing is...
Oh, go ahead.
Like, he's almost certainly right, and that most people are speaking without having seen the pictures, but that just doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that doesn't. Well, he's going beyond it, because I agree that most people probably haven't seen the pictures. I hadn't seen the pictures for a while because I straight up just didn't want to see them. But I agree that I kind of had to in order to form a judgment. But after I did, like I said, everybody that I consider to be intelligent who's seen this shit have all been in agreement that at least one of the pictures in there is unambiguously loli. And so, like, maybe he just, I can't believe that the idea that he didn't see it. At best, the charity I can give him is that he ignored it in exchange for just a big dick. He saw a big dick, saw what looked like a little chick, and was just like, I don't care, and just...
He could have just pulled a tomfoolery and said it was his roommate. Maybe that would have worked.
Yeah.
Tomfoolery's new excuse is that it's just a random trans person. He doesn't know who it is. I don't know if you followed any of that new drama that's out there.
I haven't followed the tomfoolery drama. Okay. I saw Chud talking about it for like 30 minutes or like one time, so I have not followed all that at all.
Yeah, he leaked some of his own pictures, okay? And he's got all kinds of wild excuses about what they were, and yeah, it's interesting if you have an afternoon to kill for some reason, but probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you want to watch the rest of the video that you have to catch up on? Do you want to watch the rest with us? Because we can clean up the rest of this here. Yeah,
I can just hang out for a bit if you want.
Sure. Yeah, because I think that basically catches us up to now in terms of what Vaush has been saying. So
yeah,
if you want to jump, I don't know if you're in the stream in Discord.
Yeah, I think I am. I'm pretty sure I am.
Perfect.
All my porn tastes generally, and it's an explanation that is extremely well.
Jump back.
I get it. It's possible to make a mistake like that. Why then would you save the images? And what about them did you like? And look, there's really no way of saying this without sounding crass or flippant or whatever, but it's already pretty revealing video. There's actually a very clear and simple explanation for why, for not just those two drawings, but in fact all the drawings in that folder and all my porn tastes generally. And it's an explanation that is extremely well known and well substantiated. I'm a size queen. I like big dicks. Yeah, I was looking through drawn porn. Like,
so to be fair, I'm aware he was going to say this. I mean, like, he needed to say this before any of the, would it be equivocating? Whatever he was doing to basically say, like, oh, like, maybe it's not lolly. Most people haven't said. I just wanted this answer. That's all I wanted.
Or whatever else. I saw a big well-drawn dicks. I thought, cool. And saved the drawings, then never looked at them again, as evidenced by the fact they are in a big dump folder literally called to be sorted. That's, that's the extent of the consideration that I gave those two drawings before my community and then the entire fucking internet hopefully corrected my mistake. It's hard to even say anything about it. 5 seconds of ooh, nice dick, cool line art, saved, and it's a whole discourse. I wish I had an answer that was more satisfying, but really for something like this, I feel like people are going to believe what they believe. I do think there is a real argument to be made about carelessness, especially with regard to lolicon and its seeming omnipresence in the anime community. You don't have to know much about anime to know that's an issue with it. I find it repellent, and I've been bitching about it for years. Plenty of that bitching has been on stream too, but it's possible to find something repellent while also not being perfectly vigilant about it, especially in art where stylization and abstraction can kind of, cloud awareness and judgment of the extent to which any artists you follow or people in the community might be doing sussy shit, right? Pardon me for taking my most indefensible position yet on this, in this video. In the history of my channel, I actually do like some anime, and there's a lot of really good shit out there in the anime community broadly, and then a lot of the sick anime babes getting railed on Twitter. I'm sorry, like, often that is also cool. And I hate the fact that, the pervasiveness of lolicon means that the entire community is tainted, basically, right? I don't like the fact that, like, you could be looking through what looks like a bunch of totally, like, normal, fine, cool babes getting railed by big dicks, whatever.
No. Nah. This would work. Nah, bruh. This would work maybe for, like, back when I perused hentai, there was some hentai where it was, like, ambiguous and shit, whereas, like, maybe it would work with that. With some of those images in there, they say he's making it sound like again, that it's ambiguous, that it was like a toss up. It's like, maybe this. It's like, I hate it how pervasive it is. It's just, insidious in there. You never know when it's going to pop up. Some of those images, bro, you know it just by looking at it, bro. You know it just by, no way.
No, I'm going to echo what you say completely. Obviously, I had a time in college where I was a degenerate too. So I've been on some of these sites, and I feel like there's a very, very clear style to the way certain things are drawn to make them look young. That's like explicitly present in the threesome image that we're talking about here, the one that was like loli. There's like a certain way of drawing meant to make people look younger that like is occurring there that I feel like you can't possibly get away from. And I know it because I know anytime I'd ever seen it, it like kind of made me like ugh. I had to I'm like, fuck, I have to like clear my history to get the fuck. I just get the fuck out of here, right? So I know that if I've seen those images, I'm like, oh, repelled by them. He has to know, right? And he's, I think, clearly not necessarily repelled.
And he's also he's got years more under the belt, right? My shit, like going at hentai for me was like a 6-month venture or something back in the old days. This guy's got 6 years, so plus easy. Okay, he's a veteran to the game, so there's no way he doesn't know. If you know and I know, this guy knows all too well. So yeah.
Well, I mean, the big problem that like optically to me seems to be that he's trying to explain this rationally when it's not really. A lot of this isn't rational. It's just a disgust reaction. It's like, dude, you're fucking weird. You're looking at weird fucking shit. Like the only way that you really get around that is just to not talk about it. Just to move on with your life. Hope people forget about it and talk about Too Mad or something else. And like, oh God,
that'd be crazy if you put out a Too Mad video instead of a first. That would be insane.
Yeah.
No, don't clip me. Stop. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no, you can't explain your way out of this. If the charges are you're a degenerate weirdo and your response to that is like, well, yeah, I am, but like let me give a rational defense for why it's fine to be a degenerate weirdo. You don't win that fight.
I feel like JSTLK's response is probably the best. Just like I like big dicks. It kind of like I was just walking it and I didn't really have much concern, and there it is. But like his obvious obfuscation and shit like that, it's this is really bad in my opinion of him.
This is yet another section where like if he just cut the rationalizations out and just said like, here's what I thought, here's like what happened, and you can judge me for it or not. Like I obviously I find the images disgusting, but like here we are now. I think that would have been better than, all the obfuscation leading up and then all the rationalizations after between like what actually happened. It's like, just say what happened. I understand it's really hard to like make yourself vulnerable in that way, but dude, this happened in another section too, where he said some stuff and it was like, oh, that's pretty good. And then he just yapped rationalizing for like 10 minutes. And it's like, dude, don't just say what happened if you're going to make the video. But I'm probably one of the few people who could actually maybe be neutral on this. Like I'd be willing to like listen to his opinion. So I just might not be the target of this video. Like again, this video might be targeted specifically to his audience and the people who are like already kind of favorable to him, and just to help those people understand where his head was at so that they don't abandon him. And then he's just kind of saying too bad to the people who don't like me. Like I was never going to convince you anyway. Like I think that's starting to make the most sense to me.
You and me both. I'm a bastion of impartiality on this subject.
Yeah, I know.
I have no outstanding biases at all.
I'm aware of Vaush's unironically evil. I am
to be fair though, I have defended him a lot of times, including on this subject. So it's not like I just endlessly hate on the dude. But this is yeah.
I think we're all that way. We have a dislike for Vaush, but we have been somewhat fair to him in multiple different circumstances, and I think fair to him in this one. Because we could all just say "fuck this guy," move on, and nobody would look at us.
I think me, Chud, and Diorio all talked about this like a couple of days ago. We said exactly the same thing. Just basically like it's not really evidence that he's necessarily a pedo. There is an explanation that like might be legit. It's just that he's a debate brain fucking idiot. He's to handle the situation as badly as he reasonably could have. Yeah.
All right, let's keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Whatever you're into, while also feeling like you have to be vigilant that in this incredibly normalized process, some of these drawings might be of characters that are canonically underage, or that like an artist who generally draws in a kind of like cartoony style might be fine, but then another artist does that, but then they're like actually drawing like they're meant to be teenagers or whatever. I don't like it. And it's a normalization issue. And I think one of the best ways you could deal with it is by being aware. I'm not perfectly aware, so I fucked up. This wasn't the first time that I fucked up in this specific regard. You know, after the whole child labor argument saga, people went through a bunch of like likes in an old public Twitter or, you know, porn account that I had, and over like thousands of liked, you know, furry big dick monster girl images or whatever. I think they found one that was like the character was meant to be a teenager. You know, like, and it's not surprising to me that that might happen because, you know, I'm running between classes, scrolling on my phone. I look at an image maybe 2 or 3 seconds before I like. The degree of scrutiny required there indicates that this goes beyond.
What?
Just the, like, the imagery of, like, you're looking at fucking, you're gooning between class. You just, like, accidentally looked at loli, like, while you're on the way to math class. Like, dude, what? Don't say that.
Wait,
Yeah,
so I missed a bit of
DJ.
it. So he's liking porn on his phone?
What did he just say? I thought he said that he was like scrolling through porn between class and he accidentally saw loli or something. What did he say?
Well, I just got up to answer a phone call or to check my phone because it was going off. But that's what it sounded like. Yeah, he's just scrolling around, walking between classes, and then you go like,
Is it on his phone?
Yeah,
Or-
on his
Yeah,
phone.
he's like such a gooner. He can't even just walk to class.
Oh, he had an old porn leak too. Jesus. Hold on, let me go back. My phone was going off here. I'm just
Like, you
gonna
have to be
play it again
vigilant
really
that
quickly.
in this incredibly normalized process, some of these drawings might be of characters that are canonically underage, or that like an artist who generally draws in a kind of like cartoony style might be fine, but then another artist does that, but then they're like actually drawing like they're meant to be teenagers or whatever. I don't like it. And it's a normalization issue. And I think one of the best ways you could deal with it is by being aware. I'm not perfectly aware, so I fucked up. This wasn't the first time that I fucked up in this specific regard. You know, after the whole child labor argument saga, people went through a bunch of like likes in an old public Twitter or, you know, porn account that I had, and over like thousands of liked, you know, furry big dick monster girl images or whatever. I think they found one that was like the character was meant to be a teenager. You know, like, and it's not surprising to me that that might happen because, you know, I'm running between classes, scrolling on my phone. I look at an image maybe 2 or 3 seconds before I like. The degree of scrutiny required there indicates that this goes beyond some kind of like matter of personal temperance and extends broadly into like, how weird is it that that's something that's been that normalized, you know? Anyway, I don't mean to like make a big point or make it like a broader issue, you know, as a way of pulling attention away from me fucking up. I just think it's a broader issue.
Yeah, so he was scrolling between classes. He just apparently is taking 2 or 3 seconds. Like, yeah, it doesn't. One, I don't believe it. But 2, also, if that were true, like, you probably need help, actually.
Well, also, yeah, 100%. Without it, he is 100% addict. If he is checking porn on college campus, like people check Twitter, 100%.
Dude, why? He also, no one else has brought this up. I've watched all the drama about this. Like, I've spent way too much time the last like 3-4 days watching drama about this. No one else has brought this up. Why would you bring this up? Oh
yeah, that's crazy that he would just offer this information. I completely agree. Number one. Number two, also, that doesn't even bring to us the computer because he can talk about casually scrolling on a college campus. He was on his computer and he downloaded it. This is a good.
Yeah,
this is a different scenario.
Yeah, so he was just saying there was an old leak where like that happened. Basically, somebody looked through his old Twitter account.
Okay.
Like the likes on his old Twitter account was what they looked through to find the last lolicon thing he clicked on or liked. And this, it doesn't explain this, but he's saying it's not even the first time where his excessive like gooningness is he is the prime gooner, okay? And because of this, he doesn't look at images long enough to know if he would jerk off to them. He just keeps collecting material. I don't know. That's like it's such a bizarre excuse to use. But yeah, it doesn't. Again, this just seems like more obfuscation to me, where it's like he keeps talking, he keeps making himself look worse to me.
You know, people are going to say what they're going to say. They can judge me for what they're going to judge me for. I think a lot of people have been real and charitable. You know, I think it's insane to say this like, yeah, he's a pedophile. You got him. I think that's insane. But again, it's not really an evidentiary argument that I can make. So, you know, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, I don't know. God willing, anime culture will get better one day. I wouldn't hold my breath though. So yeah, that's the long and short of it. I'm sure there are other clips or screenshots or arguments out there that people have thrown into their big anti-me documents. But like I said, I wanted to focus on the accusations that I feel are at least somewhat grounded. If I took the time to tackle all the obviously fake or disingenuous shit, we'd be here forever. And I think it would take away from the stuff I actually did feel I needed to address. You know, again, walking that line, there is a lot of bullshit, but you know, I don't want to convey the impression that I feel every attack against me is illegitimate, or at least not properly motivated. So yeah, this isn't about debunking a narrative, you know, it's about waving away the most transparently bullshit stuff so that I can focus on explaining the actual mistakes that I've made, the actual stupid shit that I've said, providing context and laying out my thought process so folks on the fence have all the information before deciding to lean charitably or not. Yeah, I can't make someone be charitable. It's just up to how they see things. And, you know, I can't ever view all this drama from an outside perspective. I'll always be biased because I am literally the only person who really knows how I feel and why I've said the things I said. And, but to cap it all off, to cap all this off, I'd still like to try my hand at it. I'd like to try and present the charitable narrative, how I feel this all looks with all the information and how I hope people take it. You know, again, not holding my breath on that one, but this is what I hope for. You know, I have said some really, really stupid and difficult to defend stuff. That much is clear. But almost all of it comes from the very, very beginning of my time as a live streamer. Looking at it all laid out like this, 5 or so years of drama and accusations, I think it should be clear to people who have watched this far that the explanatory variable in all those old clips was my stupid fucking debate bro brain. The obsession with inane hypotheticals and devil's advocates and shock value bullshit, which I employed because I thought using examples and comparisons that normies couldn't handle proved I was smart. It really is impossible to overstate how much I dislike the me in those clips, how I used to act in general. That being said, the terrible arguments and hypotheticals really were contained to those shock value debate bro moments. And as I stopped being that kind of debate bro, the terrible arguments and hypotheticals stopped. And that's why just about every clip used against me is at least 4 years old. They're more or less contained to a period of time during which I employed a rhetorical style that I would describe as a fucking stupid and insufferable. You know, even if the point I was making was fundamentally okay, I was also just way worse at communicating, which didn't help me. And that's another thing I'd like to stress. You know, if anything has been thoroughly, objectively, uncontroversially demonstrated in all of this, it's that I'm a loudmouth. I can't shut the fuck up. I have no filter, etc. Worse then than it is now, but nonetheless, it's a character trait. But in all the hundreds of times that sex or sexuality or kink or whatever else has come up on stream, sometimes while I'm near blackout drunk from celebrating some event or another, you know, no filter, I've always been really, really blunt and consistent about what I'm actually into in people, whether it be people my height or people with big round glasses or people with really dark, tired looking eye circles or pronounced collarbones or aquiline noses or whatever else. You know, I know this is a low bar, but it's really weird to me because people accuse me of
I really think that if he's doing this and he's going to take days, he needed a script. This just, I understand that he's like a very, like a gifted rhetorician, if you want to call him that he's like able to just talk through things like this. He doesn't sound like he's going off script, but I feel like he needed a script and he needed it edited down because this is just too much. Like,
yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, like I don't care so about how upfront you are about like what you're attracted to in people. I literally don't care.
So far, easily 50 minutes to an hour could be trimmed out of this easily so far.
Yeah, and it would sound better. Like I think a lot of people
better. Yeah.
Of being a secret pedophile who.
What's up, dude?
Yeah, I was just going to say part of the reason that he probably thinks that way is because he has just talked his way through some insane bullshit. Like most people don't realize how many fucking. He has done a lot more dumb, dishonest things than most people are aware of, and he just gets away with basically all of it. So, him having that mindset makes perfect sense to me. But obviously, it catches up to him every once in a while when, you know, the winds of drama catch him at the wrong angles. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it could just be, that hubris again catching up to him, that he's talked his way out of all these things so many times that he thinks he can do it
accidentally
again.
Let his mask slip by virtue of several months of extremely loud, abrasive, attention-grabbing, optically dogshit arguments. And yet, also, back then and now, has been really consistent in wanting a girlfriend who looks like Reagan Ridley from Inside Job. You know, like that's a very novel way of letting the mask slip, right? Like you know, no filter whatsoever. Clearly a poor sense of how other people will, you know, interpret his words at times. Not always the best communicator, and yet it's. Every time this happens, it's always contained to hyperbolic debate bro bullshit. It's always shock value, rhetorical bullshit, which again, like I know, low bar, right? But that, to me at least, that's the pattern. That's the clear pattern. And I don't do that anymore. I'm a lot better at making arguments than I used to be. I'm a lot less, I don't know, I'm not trying to deflect. I'm a lot less autistic than I used to be. I don't know. At least marginally. These edgelord debate bro tendencies led me to think that the best way to construct my arguments and convince people that I was edgy and smart and blah, 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 was through the invocation of the kind of stuff that I have been dealing with the consequences of for 5 years. I, more than anyone, know the problems with those arguments. I just think that they indict me in different ways than people think they indict me. I think if nothing else, I mean, I think they just make me look like a fucking idiot, you know? I have one that I'm trying to be less of, you know, ideally. I would like that. I certainly don't think I act now the way I did then. I don't think 5 years from now, I will look at me now and think as poorly of me as I do looking at me 5 years ago. There has been some improvement. That's the charitable explanation. That's the best I can offer. I think I set the stage with that child labor argument. You know, me being who I am, I mean, I was always going to get on, you know, people's nerves. And to an extent, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. A degree of abrasiveness, I think, is a necessary and endearing trait in some people. Cope, I know. But I think that a lot of the stuff that's happened in my career over the past 4 years has been tainted by the way I made those initial arguments. And a lot of the stuff people throw at me, they wouldn't have thought to throw at me if it wasn't for that initial poisoning of the well. You know, I think a lot of this is inertial. You know, it builds up. And I don't know how to stop that inertia, right? I mean, people say, you talk about this often all the time, you CP on your stream. But well, here I am talking about it again. Will this be the last time, or will a month from now I'll be talking to someone and they'll be like, aren't you that pedophile? And what am I going to do? Stop the conversation and link them the video? You know?
Again, I just absolutely hate that he's making this point, because I understand he's made it before, that like people keep bringing this stuff up. But Vaush, you leaked Lolicon in your fucking downloads folder. That is what caused this. Is not people being bad faith or coming after you. You caused this yourself. And he just keeps bringing, this is not the first time he's brought this up. Maybe it's the first time in this video, but he's brought it up so many times in the Cope streams he's done that like people just always call me a pedophile and they never look into it. It's like, no, literally, you caused this. Stop blaming other people for causing this.
Inertia is a difficult thing to stop. I think that's actually like the meaning of inertia, like definitionally. So I could opine at length about how a lot of the hate I get is inconsistent. And it's all a big popularity contest, and I'm an easy target, and people get upset with me for shit they'd write off if other people did it, and blah, blah. But pointing out all of those extremely true and correct facts, it doesn't solve the problem. I don't want to be disliked. I don't even really want to be controversial. I think the stuff that I advocate for is universally good. I want everyone to live a better life. You know, people disagree about how to do that, but as long as you're on the path, as long as you think people being happy is a good thing to fight for, then I think there's at least some agreement to be had. I don't want to be controversial for that reason, or for a lot of the reasons I seem to be. You know, I get into fights with people who agree with me on like 99% of shit. I think my channel's a cool and positive place, and it and my community are both a big source of pride for me. So I'd like it if everyone, or half of everyone, some proportion of everyone could see it that way. There's not much I can do about the optics black hole, though, at least not right away. I don't expect this video will get much positive attention on release. I think it's going to be kind of broadly ridiculed, largely, I think, from folks trashing it who haven't actually watched it. This is something that I expect. This is something we all know will happen. Whether or not you agree with me on any of this, you know that'll happen. It's unfortunate, but I can't make that not happen. I can't, like, rewrite reality. So if I can't do that, then I just have to accept it. And I'm sure there will be, like, drama YouTubers who comb over and pause every 2 seconds to talk about the, like, pedophilic contour of my frontal lobe or whatever. You know, they'll just make a big laugh riot out of it. Still, in spite of all of that, as best as I can, it's honest and straightforward, and I don't think there's much I can do besides present it that way and let people make their own judgments. So yeah, that's it. I'm done making all of the arguments about my past and how people perceive me and blah, blah, blah. I want to take a second here at the end to directly address just my audience, what I'm hoping for in the future and what I'm asking for from them. You can still watch if you want, but if you don't care, then you can leave without missing anything. So to my...
The end segment is equivalent to a YouTuber apology videos where they have edits but don't cut out the parts where they started crying. Okay.
Hey, audience, thanks for sitting through the whole thing. I know you don't have much of an attention span, especially because you're not used to this type of content on the channel. Don't laugh. Live streamers only turn into video essayists when they're extremely nervous. Look, first of all, I want to apologize for making it so difficult to be a fan of mine and a member of my community. Seriously, I'm sorry. In this respect, at least, you know, I think I've let you guys down. I think this is a great community, you know, exceptional even. And as a consequence of my obstinance and carelessness and...
just real quick, I'm going to run through a couple super chats because we have had a couple come in that are all on this. Extreme Dad, $5. Vaush has put me through years of that abuse for no reason, other than because he disliked me. He lied and told his audience I was a pedo. Yeah, I've heard about this, Extreme Dad. Obviously, I guess irony is at least some revenge here. Some ironic revenge for you in him now being called a pedo by everybody. Although in It's not quite the same because, as far as I know, there's no evidence that you're a pedo, and there's a lot of evidence, circumstantial and non-real, non-determinative. But there is actual circumstantial evidence that Vaush could be, right, with the loli stuff. So, Halo $10, 4 out of 10 manifesto fought back on claims but didn't beat the nonce allegations. It did not explain loli pics well enough. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say 4 out of 10. I think like 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10 for me, but. There's one more chat.
I think I would agree with 4 out of 10 just because. Oh, sorry. Yeah, get through the other chat.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be. I don't want Doomer to answer this question yet, but maybe before you go, Doomer, it's hey Doomer, have you enjoyed any video game stories lately? And then
no.
I don't know if that's an inside joke. Okay.
It's a reference to an argument.
Yeah, that video game stories.
Don't worry about it.
We can get into it after, sure. Don't gaslight Doomer. He's 100 on this. And Vaush brings up arguments like animal rape to justify meat eating. Extending that to a CP argument is correct. I disagree. I think that's like the animal abuse one is a little more real, I think. Maybe not. Maybe they're close. I don't think...
hard to...
Go ahead.
It's hard to fully justify, and this is something that I've always had a very difficult time explaining. But Vaush likes to put himself in this kind of superposition where he's simultaneously arguing two contradictory things, and then if you challenge something that he said, people can always point to him saying the opposite thing. But that isn't because what you're saying is wrong; it's because he's like a hypocrite. So at the same time, he'll be like, "I'm a consequentialist. I only care about the consequences of actions. Right? We shouldn't do things with bad consequences." And then he will justify people doing basically whatever. You know, he's like, it's fine if Hassan's a hypocrite. It's fine if I do whatever. It's fine if I don't spend my money the way that, you know, if it's fine if I don't contribute to socialist causes or whatever like that. Again, these things are like, there's no internal cohesion. They're internally contradictory, but he'll argue them at exactly the same time. So like, I mean, yeah, it's a very, very difficult thing to deal with when someone is so willing to argue both sides of an argument at the same time. It makes it very, very confusing and difficult to explain why what he is saying is wrong, but it definitely is. Like in logical terms, he definitely is. If you take what he said at the beginning of this video and you combine the irrelevant conversation, you get a justification for child porn 100%.
I mean, I think there are other conversations you can combine with some of these, with the leaks and some of the clips, and you can kind of justify it. I tend not to. I tend not to take what somebody says on camera very seriously, like especially when they're performing for an audience. So I'd probably give more leeway here, but I understand why other people wouldn't, and like I don't think those people are bad for not giving him that leeway. Anyway, Relly, I think were you going to give your rating overall before you?
Yeah. So I think I agree with 4 out of 10. Honestly, I could get away with 3 out of 10, and the main reason why is because he addressed the clips really well. But the main problem, the main issue, the reason why any of this conversation is happening, he addressed it in almost as bad of a way as you could. That's really, really brutal. He needed to address that better. He needed to have a better explanation of his actions outside of, oh yeah, you couldn't even tell, like, half of the idea that people thought it was loli. You couldn't even really tell, like, you know, if there's people saying it, there definitely was, they were lying, and then trying to say like I goon. So like, yeah,
I can't even walk to class without gooning.
Yeah, it's like these are not what I was looking for, and then telling a whole fucking tale that took way too long to be able to explain it. It was dog shit. So yeah, 3 out of 10, honestly, for me.
I did think it was interesting, not like good or bad necessarily. I thought it was interesting that he didn't directly respond to Ethan. Like there was maybe one clip of Ethan specifically and Gila going over his stuff, but I guess it was good that he didn't sort of take some of the bad arguments Ethan made. I thought that was good, but yeah, the addressing of the folder was just poor, very poor.
I actually have to go.
Yeah, you got to run. All right.
Yep, I got to run. Thanks for having me, though.
Yeah, no problem.
Later, really.
Yep.
See you later. Good talking to you again, Doomer.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, love you. Bye.
See ya.